the tips and the tricks, okay? Now, the cool part about the tips and the tricks that I want you guys to remember, if this is where we started, if this was day one, it would be tips and tricks. But because we've already got all the other stuff and we know the basis of why we actually do what we do, and we actually understand what we're doing, these aren't tips and tricks. These are just good ways for you to acknowledge things, okay? So, and this ties right into the inspection. So right after your inspection is going to be the pitch, okay? So the pitch, this is the part where you become a salesperson, right? This is, now it's time to perform a sales task, okay? And you may be thinking, I had to sell to get on the door. Not really, because you weren't selling anything. You were offering a free service. Well, now is the point you actually have to sell something, okay? So now that we're selling something, you want to be really good, right? So these, I don't know if you guys haven't seen these movies, probably not the best examples from a PC standpoint, but all phenomenal sales movies. I would love to show some things from this movie, but definitely can't. Boiler Room. Ben Affleck scene where he comes in the very beginning. It's like probably one of my favorite sales movie scenes of all time. So if you want to look up Ben Affleck Boiler Room, it's great. So what is the pitch? First off, this right here, the Sell Me This pen, like we all know the movie that it's from, which is a horrible movie, but I actually despise this. I hate the sell this pen tactic because to me, that's the trick stuff. Like that's not what we're doing. I'm not about that. So I actually put that up there as an example of extreme hatred and dislike. I don't want you to be that, okay? We're not trying to make something sound sexy and cool and you want this. No. We're selling like a doctor, right? Kind of your point a minute ago. We're just giving them information and letting them make a decision because that's all it is, straight up, okay? So next, the pitch is the thing you do as soon as you come down. Okay, so that's when this takes place. You've done the inspection. You don't do this halfway through the pitch. You don't do this the next day when you come back. You do this as soon as you get down from the roof. That is going to be what I'm referring to when I talk about the pitch. And if you look at guys, so this will be the first point of struggle for most sales guys, okay? Because most guys, I've seen guys get inspections, but they can't ever get that authorization. And it's because they either have a horrible pitch or they always shortcut it. These are the guys that go, hey, you got a good copay. Let's get going. Like that's not, you're not giving them any information. Everybody wants to shortcut this because you think the homeowner knows and understands all the things you know and understand. Well, they don't. Because guess what? They're not a roofer, right? And if they are a roofer, you wouldn't have been doing their inspection. Well, one would hope anyway, right? So the first thing you need to do before you go any further is you need to get to the kitchen table. Now, when I started this, I actually kind of started during the COVID times. So like the kitchen table almost never happened. So I don't care if it's the kitchen table, if it's the porch chair, if it's your tailgate, or if they're one of those folks that got those nice city trash cans and you have the trash can closed. Like it basically means not in their doorway. So if you try to pitch them in the doorway, right off the bat, you failed. Okay? It's not going to work. Now, if they take you to the kitchen table, that's butter. That's pretty good. Some folks may take you to their couch. I always hate the couch closed because like you're sitting next to each other and like you're kind of turned sideways. You're like, this is awkward. We're both married men. I'd rather not be this close to you, but whatever. So the kitchen table is the best place. But you don't want to say, and I see guys do this, and when we do role playing tomorrow, someone's going to do it. Hey, is there a place like your kitchen table we can go sit down? Because I remember Marcus talking about the kitchen table. No, okay. All you very simply need to do is whether you got your tablet, your phone, your whatever. Hey, I got some pictures of my inspection. Is there a place we can sit down? And I don't recommend a place. I don't offer a place. I just say a place. Because if you do that, They're going to lead you to what is comfortable to them. You don't want to make a recommendation that they're too scared to say no to and just agree to. Okay? You want to make a recommendation that is good for them. Make sense? Okay. So the cool part about this is, and where this starts, is you just have to tell a story. Because you just took 80 photos, like Will said. And also like Will said, some of these things aren't even going to be roof related. So you're going to have a lot to talk about, right? So am I saying that you're going to go through absolutely every single photo? No. I want you to think of it like telling a story. So I'm sure everybody in here has a group of friends, right? Or even on the call with us, right? In your group of friends, do you have that guy that just can't tell a story to save his life? Or maybe it's the wife, right? And if you don't, that means you're the one that can't tell a story and you're going to have a real problem with your pitch. So, and then you probably have the guy who's really good at telling stories. And it's a fine line, right? Like if you don't give enough detail and information, your story sucks. If you give too much, everybody's bored and they check out. It's that perfect balance. You got to be able to read the room and you got to tell a good story. And that's all you're doing. So if you're sitting down with the kind of person that wants a lot of detail, maybe you are going through 80 dadgum photos. And sometimes you have those folks, and not my favorite, but it is what it is. And then you got your other guys that, boy, can we cliff notes? Can we keep this thing moving? Right. So I'm the guy, I do a lot of book reading, but if that book like has 3 pages of like one analogy, like, bro, I get it. Can we move on? Like, let's go. I'll put down a book if it ain't feeding me. Okay. So you need to be a good storyteller. The very first thing you're doing is you're just telling a story about what you have found, period. You're not selling them anything. And when you're telling a story, it is relating to them. That's why when your pictures need to be in the order that they are so that they can follow along, you need to make sure that they follow along with your story. And you need to look at their interactions. If they have the face of, I'm checked out, you've gone too far, or man, I'm really absorbing this, like stay right there. That's where you want to be. Okay. So now I think this way in the world of selling, and I also think this way in the world of, like, it's been many, many, many moons for me, but since when I was trying to find a wife, right? There is no such thing as a good pickup line. Okay. Doesn't exist. However, and if you disagree, sorry, you're wrong. There are things that you don't say. Now, what do we think most roofers do when they come down and give the pitch? What do you think they talk about? All the damage. That's right. So what are you absolutely not going to do? I'm not going to talk about the damage, but for maybe 15 seconds. Because here's the thing. If they let you on the roof, subconsciously, they are telling themselves and they are telling you, I could possibly have a problem. And if I do, I'm willing to fix it. So if you come down and talk about damage, like by letting you up there, they've already told you they're okay with that and they think that it could be a problem. Kind of like I talked about before. If I got a car with 500,000 miles and I'm going to go from California to New York and I go take it to get checked out, I'm taking it to get checked out because probably something I need to address before going across the country, right? They are aware of that. But then second, if all you do is talk about the damage, Mother Nature did the damage, insurance is giving them the money, why do they need you? They need you. So you've done it, your storytelling is getting them to understand what's happening to their roof. The purpose of a pitch is not to sell them a roof. It is to make them understand that they do or don't need one. Period. So when you go to the doctor and he is telling you why you have to have surgery, he isn't trying to sell you on what it's going to cost you. He's trying to let you know that you need it. Because if you don't agree that it's needed, you ain't letting him cut you down. At least I sure as heck wouldn't. Same thing with the homeowner. Your purpose is not a sale. Your purpose is to make them understand that they actually have a problem, period. So if you talk about damage, like like you've heard the term scare selling, right? I hate scare selling. But with what we do, it's actually 10 times worse. Scare selling, does it work? I mean, it does. Does it work as well? Is it going to get you as much repeat business, et cetera, et cetera? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So you're going to let them see the damage for a brief second, and we'll get into that later as far as what that actually looks like. But like the damage is going to be extremely quick. I'm going to talk more about things that aren't even related to the roof. I'm going to talk more about when we build your roof, we do X, Y, and Z, so on and so forth. Okay? Did everybody follow me on that? So do not talk damage. Are you going to have to say a little bit of it? Yes. But like if all you're doing is damage, like what are you doing? Like if you have to something you'll see me do a lot, and this is why I don't need storms personally to sell roofs. If someone has a roof and the main issue is that it's just old and has granule loss like crazy, I'm gonna be like, hey, do you have some hail damage? I mean, yeah. The real problem, your roof's just old. Like you just need a roof because you need a roof. Good news is because it has hail damage, we can get insurance to help you out with that. So as you see there, the hail is the because, but it's not the why. You don't need a roof because of the hail damage. You need a roof just because you need a dadgum roof, right? So now you've told the story. Now it's time to tell them a little bit about us and a little bit about you. And my thing to tell you, the us, we make sure to handle so that you have it for that guy that cares. But for the most part, like my goal is if something ever comes up with the homeowner, they barely even know the company that installed it. I want them to know me. If they have a problem a year or two down the road or something, I want them to call me. I don't want them calling into the main office. Like I take great pride that I tell the main office about something versus the main office saying, hey, Marcus, we got a customer calling us. Like that's not good, in my opinion. Okay. I mean, it's good for us. We still get the business, but kind of a good radar and a gauge for you to use. They need to think of you, not the company. Does everybody follow me on that? So you need to talk about who you are and you need to talk about how we build. Okay. So there's a good handful of things that I want you guys to know about how we build that in some areas is more helpful than others, right? So like in Oklahoma, how we build is phenomenal because Oklahoma rules and laws suck. Certain areas of Kansas are the same, Texas, but like Colorado and Utah, their codes are pretty solid. So for Colorado and Utah, it's good for you to know, not necessarily as a selling point so much as, hey, we meet all the requirements, okay? We are going to build a complete roofing system every time. So when Joe Blow puts your roof on, or like Chuck in a truck, you know, majority of the time, what they'll do is they go to an ABC, maybe go to the Home Depot, whatever. They're just going to put on some shingles, throw it on. The manufacturer never even knows what happened. Okay. We're going to register every single roof that we do, meaning the manufacturer is going to know. Meaning if there is a problem later on down the road, they actually have paperwork and the manufacturer covers it. Versus if I do the complete roofing system but never inform the manufacturer, they basically have an uncovered roof. And you would be surprised how many roofers, unfortunately, and look, there's bad apples in every industry, right? How many roofers still on a roof and never register it? Okay. So when we build a roof, for a roof to be registered with all manufacturers, but GAF is one of them. It's one of the reasons we are, like I said, Master Elite. You have to have at least 5 of their products, meaning the shingle, the starter strip, the venting, the underlayment. They don't have the drip edge, but the ice and water, like all of the things, right? So we're going to put number one important thing, in my opinion anyway, this is the list of me. If you disagree with the list, cool, put it in your own order. We're going to put ice and water in all valleys and all penetrations, meaning around the pipe jack boots, around your flashings, so on and so forth. A lot of folks that do ice and water only do it in your valleys. Well, just like we talked about yesterday, the penetrations are important. Next, we are going to use, and this is kind of one that, again, pretty much everybody does, but we do it. We use a synthetic underlayment, not felt, which again, I don't know that I've seen anybody using felt underlayment in like a long time. So I could almost say nobody does, but I still see it every now and again. Okay, next, and this isn't necessarily a GAF product, but it's a very good thing to note, is drip edge. We're going to install drip edge on every roof, and you guys remember what that is. So like drip edge is one of those things. So like ice and water, when you're selling someone, you don't know if a house has ice and water or not. You can have good assumptions, like especially if you've worked in the area, because you essentially, if you only get one house in a neighborhood, know that you suck. You should get multiple houses so you can be like, hey, when I did Jared's roof, he did not have ice and water, so you probably don't, so we will. But you don't know that for sure until you tear it down. But what you do know is if a house currently has on drip edge or not. And if it does, hey, I noticed your house has drip edge. That's why your fascia looks so good. So just so you know, we do use that as well. It's not code, but we're going to install it as well so that you will keep having that same long life on your fascia. Or, hey, I noticed that your house actually doesn't have fascia. When we build your roof, that's a real pro move, by the way. You let them, you're already telling them we're doing this. When we build your roof, we are going to install drip edge. The benefit of this, it's going to make your fascia last a lot longer. Now, is it also, just like we talked about, meant to prevent sideways rain-driven leaks? Yes, but if they don't have it now and you talk about it prevents leaks, well, I don't have leaks now. You want to talk about the what's in it for them, okay? Like we talked about right here. A lot of guys will go, drip edge, it's great. Well, if they don't understand why it's great, doesn't matter. So what's in it for them, okay? So like I said here, a secret to this pitch, or when you're talking about you and talking about us, is when we build your roof. Like something that I use a lot of that you will see everywhere is what most houses are vented horrifically and nowhere near enough. So if you're on a roof that's not vented enough, and also when we build your roof, we're going to be putting in additional vents because, and you give them the benefits. And again, the benefit, does it make the roof last longer? Yes. The real benefit, it helps the house cool better. Like they don't care that the roof lasts longer. So, I mean, like all shingles pretty much are 35-year shingles and up. I can count on maybe one hand out of all the roofs I've ever done that I ever even talked about how long the roof lasts. Like most people, like basically, because I kept getting this morbid conversation. Oh, honey, I ain't going to be here in 35 years. I don't care. I'm like, golly, man. It's like when my grandma years ago asked me, hey, I want to go get my burial plans. I want you to come with me. But what? You can pick my mom or one of my uncles. Why are you picking a grandkid? Like this ain't my, and she kept looking over at me for things like, well, what do you think? I'm like, I'm here because you asked me to be. I don't want to think about you dead. Like, can we not do this right now? So, anyways, I avoid morbid conversations with homeowners because you'd be surprised what they tell you sometimes. Like, okay, I was just talking about the roof, and I now know your health history. Appreciate it. So, last part of this that you see, if you want to get really good when you're talking about us and yourself, you just need to start assuming the sale. Does everybody know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
No? So assuming the sale are statements like, while we are building your roof. So when we do this, when we do that. So a cool part or a trick, if you will, about assuming the sale, the largest majority of what you do, if you do this properly, is 100% subconscious to the homeowner. They're making decisions that they don't even know that they're making. When you make assumptive sales, people naturally don't like conflict. Like we were talking about earlier, when Angel's walking up all big and bulky, people get scared on him, right? So if you are telling them we're doing this, they naturally don't want to argue with you and be like, no, we're not. People naturally don't want to say no. So you're just kind of putting them in that mode. So assumptive closing is really the only way you should go, because also it's also telling your own subconscious, I got this. So you get that, am I going to sell this? Are they going to sign? You get that crap out of your own head too. Make sense?
They put that picture in their head repeatedly over and over and over. They don't even think about it.
Nope. I mean, yeah. So like I said, this little thing right here, every part of the inspection and all that I'm talking about, I'm like, when we do your roof, when we build your, like, I'm saying that all over the place. And you can literally just see it on their face slowly be like, he is going to build my roof. Like, right. And then it's like the assumptiveness kind of also gives, you need this. Because again, the purpose of the pitch, the purpose of showing them the inspection is for them to truly understand that they even need it. So how many of you guys have heard you got to have trust and you got to have rapport and all that stuff with your homeowners, right? The word I would like you to understand that to me suits that better, do they believe you? Because so many of us hear trust and rapport and we're like, oh, okay. Boy, I sure like, you know what? I'm a military guy too. Like, you think you got to get this fakeness about you. No, they just need to truly believe what you are saying in the same manner that you do. And if you're being genuine, to your point, they're going to. Make sense? So if you hear people say trust and rapport, I want you to think of it as believe. Because when you talk to me, that's what I'm going to be saying. Like, do they believe you? Because if a homeowner believes you, the conversation is going to go very different. And we're going to get into that later. I'm going to give you some real examples. And every time I use some of these, people are like, okay. So questions. And I'm not asking you questions right now, but you guys have seen me do this countless times while we're up here. It's how we even started today. I want to know what your questions are, what you're thinking about, what you're talking about. Before you try to make your recommendation, you need to make sure that they don't have any questions. So you've gone over your inspection, you've gone over you've gone over all these things, right? And now you want to make sure that they truly understand that. And if they look like they want to ask a question, but they don't, you force it out of them. Because if you don't force it out of them, what's going to happen? Second guess themselves.
Set yourself up for an objection.
And objections you don't even know about. But what else? What's the thing that's actually going to happen? If they have a question and you don't get it out of them, what's going to happen? They're not going to choose you, and that's going to be the very first thing they ask the next guy. And when he gives them the answer, right, wrong, or otherwise, that's their guy. So if they got a question, you better get it out of them. So there's all sorts of ways to do it. But if you feel like they're not saying it, make them say it. So we've already talked about this whole time. We've been like, hey, when I build your roof, when I do these things, right? It's the assumptive sale. At this point, there's a thing that someone told me a long time ago in this industry that made all the difference. We do have to be respectful, but we don't have to be nice. So an example of that is, Robert, look, I can tell you want to ask me something. What? Like, I've literally said that to people. Or I'll just start taking guesses at it. All right, let me guess. You don't think you need one, do you? Flat out. If their face does not tell me what I want their face to tell me, I'm going to acknowledge it. Because to Blake's point, they're going to have an objection either later or when you're not even around. Neither one are good. Okay? So, last part of the pitch. And this is something, I don't care what industry you're in, if you are selling 97 and like I honestly hate stats, like, because stats can always vary, but this is like the one that is almost always this. If you Google it under anything, I don't care if you're selling roofs, cars, houses, toiletries, whatever. 97% of salespeople don't do this. What is the this I'm talking about? Mind you, you're a salesperson, and 97% of salespeople don't do this, or they don't do this properly.
Ask for the sell.
How funny is that, right? And that is honestly a true statement. So sales, you know, it's one of those deals. Statistically, if you look it up, it's like 80-some% of all jobs are sales jobs. In my opinion, nothing happens without a sales. So everything is a sales job. The difference is like that, you know, 15% of the industry or whatever has got people fooled into thinking that it's not sales. It's like, wow, I wish roofing was that good, right? So you don't ask for the sale, period. Okay. Now, to me, not asking for the sale is a very, very simple problem. There's very, very easy reasons for why you're not asking for the sale. You didn't make a clear diagnosis. Okay. If you didn't make a clear diagnosis, they don't actually think or believe you, right? Because if you didn't make a clear diagnosis, you don't feel, you're like, I don't know if they really need one. Then why are you selling it? If you're making a clear diagnosis, the fact that their need is there is very clear and apparent to everybody involved. Okay. Next, you did not make a statement about what needs to be done. And you may be thinking, duh, you just said diagnosis. No. There's two different things. A diagnosis is telling them what the problem is. A professional, someone who knows what they're doing, is then going to tell them how to fix said problem. And if I tell you what the problem is and I tell you how to fix it, and I've done it right, I actually don't even have to ask for the sale. You're going to say something like, cool, so what do we do next? So if you're good, in all honesty, you don't actually have to ask for the sale. But if they don't say that, you're going to ask. And you can ask that because, hey man, I just did all this work. I just proved this thing to you. I just made a clear understanding to you. We doing this? And this is the point for me, in my opinion, if you're doing this correctly, from here on out, you don't actually ask your homeowner another question. You only give options and make statements. So what I mean by that, if they didn't go, hey, what's next? You do not say, again, do not, would you like to go ahead and call the insurance company? A assumptive close, and the close you need to use needs to be exactly this or a variation of. So what we need to do now is call the insurance company and get a claim started. It's going to take about 5 minutes. You good to do that right now? I'm telling you what's happening. I'm not asking you. So
what about if you somehow, find out who their insurance company is, and you said, like you said, basically, let's get them on the phone now, and how about you just pull out your phone and start calling?
Well, that's 100% what you do. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you don't ask them to go get their paperwork. You don't ask the user. You put your phone down, you hit the speaker button, and you hit call, or call in the speaker button. Excuse me. Forgot how to operate a phone for a second. All right. So, right. So to me, a big part of asking, and something that makes asking easy for me, like I told you guys, you're going to get scripture in this because that's who I am. It's what I bleed, right? So John 14:13-17, anything you ask in my name that the Father may be glorified, I will do it. I'm paraphrasing it a little bit, right? Obviously, because it's up on the screen. If you don't ask, you don't get. The power of life and death lies in the tongue. No. No. All right. Does anybody have any questions on the pitch? Do we all understand how it works? Okay. So do not shortcut the pitch. Do not. And let me tell you what's going to happen. Okay. You're either going to nail the pitch right off the bat, and you're going to kill the game. And then about 2-3 weeks in, somewhere around there, you're going to think it's just, oh, I'm just so good at this. So then you're going to start taking shortcuts. You're going to not take the photos as well. You're going to not go through your pitch as well. And then all of a sudden, you're going to start having less success. You'll be like, what happened? Well, it's not you. It's what you were doing. Okay? It's the actions you were taking. Or you're going to suck at it in the beginning, and you're going to go, Marcus, I don't understand what's happening. And I'm going to look at your photos and go, your pitch sucks, your photos suck. How do you know my pitch sucks? Because your photos suck. If you don't got good photos, you don't got a good pitch. Now, if you got good photos, then we're going to have some conversation. Maybe your pitch isn't good. But most guys will immediately start to take shortcuts, and those are 2 places you'll take shortcuts. If you do the pitch properly, you will never sail again. So a good example of if you're doing the pitch properly is when you get to your first, second, when you start getting your contract days, if you're still selling on the day of the contract, you sucked at your pitch. So there's a different statement that I have. This is what I'll hear from the top 10%, right? Yeah, I'm going to get a contract today. The lower guys, yeah, I'm going to try to get some contracts today. If I'm sitting down with a homeowner for a contract, they are signing one of 3 options. I may not know which one, but they're picking one up. If you don't even know if they're going to pick one, you sucked at your pitch, and there's objections that you should have handled on day 1 that you didn't. Okay? So now I want to talk about the process. This is where you're going to want to pay super, super, super duper attention. Okay? And I say that about every section and category, so maybe you'll stop believing me at some point. But the process, I'm going to talk about all the steps of this thing. So for those of you that have done this before, some of this is going to be a refresher, probably going to give you some things that you haven't done in the past. And for those of you that are brand spanking new, you're going to need to learn the process. Because you're going to have some guys that ask you, or some homeowners that want to know the entire process before you even get to look on their roof. Then you're going to have other guys that like, bro, just tell me what happens next. I don't care about the next 50 things, right? So, but you need to know it and address it accordingly. So, step number 1, say hi, say hello. And I'm very clear what you're thinking right now. Duh. Did you seriously make a slide and make saying hi part of the process? Yes, I did. Do you want to know why? Because you're going to screw it up. 100%, every one of you will screw it up. I've done it a million times. And the one I screw up is my very first door of the day. Like, guaranteed. Like, sometimes I'll screw it up. I'll even get on the roof, and I'll be on the roof like, why did they I wouldn't have let, that was horrible. How did that work? And then there's other ones that the door immediately gets slammed in my face. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm like, well, there we go. So, I'm going to screw up the very first door I knock every single time. And I'm pretty solid. But the first one, I'm going to screw up every single time. So I guarantee you, you're going to screw some up, at least at some point in time. So hopefully, this has been, I refuse to take this slide out, but most of the younger kids have no idea what movie this is from. This is how he said hi, okay? Don't be that guy. Don't be weird. Don't be awkward, right? And the thing to think about in what we do, if it feels awkward to you, you're screwing it up. Like, if it feels awkward to you, it's because it's awkward, okay? And you're screwing it up. If it doesn't feel awkward, you're doing great, all right? So, next is going to be the inspection itself. And if I need to go into the inspection, I really suck at my job, or you paid no attention. And we talked a little bit about it yesterday, but this is something that I will give all of you guys. Trust me, at the end of tomorrow, you guys are going to get a download of emails like you wouldn't believe. This is going to be the property inspection checklist. So with all the photos and all the things that you got to do, I'm going to say, now we have this in a digital format where you can fill it out digitally if you want to. I would still say until you get the hang of it, this is something you just need to have a stack of them with you in the truck, and you need to have it with you to check it off as you go. So this makes it easy. And if there's something on here that you're like, I don't know what this is, guess what? Google it. Okay. You can pull it up. You can literally type in, what is a turtle vent? Oh, do I have it? Like, it ain't that hard. Okay. So if you don't understand what something is on here, pull up Google. And notice I didn't say call one of us, text one of us, because again, if you ask me any of these questions, I'm going to ignore you. I just won't even answer. So, oh, by the way, so that's future statement for everybody. If I'm ignoring you, it's because your question is so stupid that it should have never came to me. Okay. So I do believe in there's such a thing as stupid questions. Okay. Either that or you haven't put an effort. If you don't put an effort, I ain't talking to you. So, but if you put an effort, I was on the phone with a guy at 9 o'clock last night. So the pitch is what comes after the inspection. You got a question, Angel?
No.
Okay. So the pitch, once again, we just went over this. If I need to explain this, I suck at my job or you're not paying attention. After the pitch is going to be the authorization. And some of you in the room may know it as a contingency. And some of you may know it as neither one of those things because I haven't talked about it. So what is an authorization? An authorization is there's a homeowner, there's a claim, and they are agreeing for you to be the roofer. So the authorization in and of itself doesn't mean anything as far as like an actual exchange of money. It's not a contract. It doesn't mean that the roof's going to get approved. It just means, the only thing it means from a legal standpoint is you are allowed to work on the homeowner's behalf. So they can sign the authorization with you and bail on you. And trust me, if you're a roofer, you've had that happen to you before. And if you're saying that you haven't, you're called a liar. Okay. So the authorization is step one of the sale. So if you remember yesterday when I talked about you'll get 3 of these and only on average 2 of those will turn into contracts. That's why. Because whether you lose it because the claim got denied or they just went to another roofer or whatever, statistically speaking, it takes 3 authorizations to get 2 contracts. Does everybody follow me on that? Okay. This is what an authorization looks like. Now, this is a real world authorization of mine. Once again, everything that we have on a digital format as well as a paperback written format. It's whatever you're more comfortable with. What I will tell you, generally speaking, most homeowners actually prefer digital nowadays, which is why after day 30, if you guys are still here and doing your thing, you get iPads. Okay. So this is what your insurance authorization form is. Again, rather you called 90% of this, you're going to be calling in a claim with them right then and there. Sometimes they may have already called in a claim themselves and they're just looking for the guy they want to help. Okay. But all this acknowledges there's a homeowner, there's a claim, you're their guy. So everything on here needs to be filled out. If any of this is blank, it doesn't count. Okay. So if you have all of this, but you don't have a claim number, you ain't got nothing. If you got a claim number, but you don't got a signature, you ain't got nothing. Okay. So now we want to talk about what this middle section is all about. First, I'm going to go into, you see how it's going to say inspected items, is there damage? Now we put, is there damage from an insurance side of things, not necessarily between you and the homeowner. Meaning, all you're doing is acknowledging that the home has these things. So typically speaking, it's going to be yes everywhere except for skylights. Or maybe yes everywhere except for skylights and gutters. Or maybe it's just yes everywhere. Meaning, let's say you have to show this to the adjuster before he even allows you to work with them. Some adjusters are that way, most aren't. Let's say if he was going to give the homeowner credit or damage on the siding, but you circled it no. Well, now they're not going to give them damage on the siding. So the fact that All this does is maybe take money away from the homeowner in that case. You circle what the house has. So it may say damage, but I want you to pretend it says, does it exist on the home? That's what I want you to pretend it says. Go for it.
No, there's nothing.
Okay. So next thing on here, and this is, I love to use this example. Typically all you're going to do, hey, who's your insurance company? Progressive. Okay. You're going to Google Progressive claim number. You're not going to call the agent. You're not going to get their paperwork. You're going to get Progressive claim number. Now, in this case, come to find out, he actually had AAA. And I'll just give you a fair warning. AAA actually has like 5 subsidiaries that you don't know which one actually holds there. So if someone gets AAA, hopefully you get the right number on the right time. And as you can see on this one, I did not. And I kept all that on there for that purpose of like, all right, this is the one I need to call and talk to. So after all that, the most important things that you're going to have, number one is a storm date. The storm date is absolutely vital. I've seen roofs get denied, not because of the lack of damage, but because they didn't have the proper storm date. And you absolutely have to write it on here. And I've talked about this, but I actually just had one of our guys last week run into this issue. The adjuster comes out and said, oh, you guys filed it for the wrong date. So there is damage here, but I'm not approving it. He said, well, what date do you have? And he's like, that is not the date we gave when we called in the claim. Here's the proof to say so. So if you don't have that as written proof, it's your word versus theirs. Who do you think wins? Right? Because I've seen it. I've seen the guy on the other end of the phone that's writing up the claim give the wrong date. And they can deny it. Now, if an adjuster is not a total jerkwad, he's going to be like, all right, and he's going to do what he knows is the right thing to do, but some of them won't. So having the storm date is the absolute most vital importance. And you're like, okay, what's the best storm date? The largest hail and the highest wind. A combination of the two or the worst of whichever. Okay. So like, for example, in Kansas City right now, you got 5 different storm dates this year. Use the date that had the largest hail, period. Very simple.
So when you're talking to insurance, are you actually speaking or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And we'll get that here in just a second. Okay. Well, let's get to it now since you asked it. So the way it's going to go, I want you to tell a homeowner, hey, so what's going to happen is I'm literally just going to call the insurance company right now. We're going to hit the speaker button. In the very beginning, they're going to start asking, you questions, what's the address, what's your name, blah, blah, blah. As soon as they start asking roofing questions, you're just going to hear me take over. Okay. And the reason I'm writing these things down is so that later we have proof in case they make a mistake on their end. But then also I want you to have it. So if they call you later and ask you questions, you're going to know the answers that we gave. So the next biggest thing after storm date, and oddly enough, last week was a ringer and both of these were for the same guy. You need to make sure that you are saying storm damage, not wind, not hail, storm damage. Same guy, different adjuster last week. The adjuster came out and goes, I only have this reported as wind damage. He's like, well, we called it as storm damage because there's wind and hail. That adjuster chose to continue just to be a jerk and actually only approved the back half of the roof off of wind and refused to acknowledge the hail and said, you need to file another claim. Totally bogus. So we fought it, and we fought it with this, and we won, which is, again, why we do this, okay? If they screwed it up on their end, not my fault. This is what I told you. And then lastly, you'll see, go ahead.
How do you find the storm date?
So in the beginning, that is something that I will give you, or your supervisor, Danny or Vadim in your case. But once you've gotten acclimated to all the other systems, we'll actually give you access to the storm system. So as far as our systems go, we have a handful of them. I'm only going to give them to you as you need them. Like there's no need to I'm already drowning you with the fire hose. There's no need to just completely dunk you.
Okay.
So next thing that's super crucial, and this is not super crucial in anything other than I think it's just good for your homeowners and it's good to educate them and it's good to keep them on your side, is you need to have the reason for why you called in the claim. Like on this one right here, it's because they had missing shingles. Every insurance company you call is going to say, why did you call? And if an adjuster calls later on, he's basically going to be digging in. Again, some of them, not all of them, are going to be like, what they're trying to get at, did a roofer knock on your door? Do you actually have a problem? Which doesn't make a difference. If they got a problem, they got a problem. If they don't, they don't, right? But however, they get super hacked off if they think we sold them a bill of goods, right? Because honestly, it does happen, right? So this is the reason. So if it's wind damage, the reason is missing shingles. In this case, he did have both, but missing shingles is kind of like, hey, you can't deny that. Everybody knows what a missing shingle is, just like everybody knows what a flat tire is, right? Another one would be like if they have hail damage only, be like, noticed a lot of granular loss. Just these are the things that don't trigger the insurance company, okay? And that way, if your homeowner gets a call from the adjuster, that call goes as smooth as possible. Because they're going to get a call from the adjuster and you're not going to be around for it. You want them prepared. If you don't prepare them, the conversation could not go well, and then they're just going to walk away from the claim. There's certain insurance companies, those of you who've done this before probably know, that are really good at terrifying homeowners on their callback and getting homeowners to cancel the claim. I had one guy with this particular insurance company, lost 2 of them. Just 2 weeks ago. I'm recording, so I'm not going to tell you that. I'll tell you that separately. So, but then lastly, what you're going to put on here is, and this is typically speaking going to be blank. You saw me write this in after the fact, but you're going to say adjuster name, date, and time. Because what's going to happen is 24 hours from now, 24 to 48 hours from now, you're going to get a call from the adjuster. He's going to give you a date and time that he comes out. I don't care what it is. All you got to do is let me know. And if we need to move it around, I'll handle it. So once again, the big keys, everything has to be filled out. The storm date is vitally important. The reason for calling the claim is important. Your information and the adjuster date and time. So all this stuff written in here is super important. Like I've seen a lot of guys skip this spot. When you skip this spot, like, do you have to have it? No, you have to have all the other things, right? Like from a legality standpoint for this to mean anything. You cannot have any of this, but your homeowner's not as educated and you have a higher likelihood of it going sideways. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So do understand that success is a horrible teacher. So understand that everything we're going to be going through today, if it's a process I have, it's because I've had to learn it the hard way. Okay? So next, inform them of the next steps. And this actually happens the second you have the claim called in and the paperwork signed. This is the very next thing that you do before you leave the house. And it's the very first time that you're going to start leading the homeowner. From here on out, you no longer ask questions. From here on out, all you're doing is telling them what to expect and telling them what to think. And if that seems mean, sorry, but that's what you're doing. You need to lead them, okay? So, what is next in this scenario? We kind of just talked about it a second ago. You're going to let them know, hey, an adjuster is going to call you in 24 to 48 hours. He's going to give you a date and time that he comes out. I don't care when that is. I don't care if he says, I'm coming out Sunday at 1. I won't be doing that, but I'll handle any rescheduling that needs to happen. You've done all you need to do. From here on out, I got you covered. There's going to be things you're going to have to tell me, but I will handle everything. Does that make sense? Okay. So now I want to, if you remember, when we called in this claim, there's 3 important things. I want you to remember these things. You may have an adjuster that calls you up and is like, hey, this is date and time I'm coming. No big deal. But you may have an adjuster that calls you up. So when was this storm date? What, like, they may grill you. That's why I have all this written down, so you don't have to worry about it. So you can keep it with you, take a picture of it, because again, I'm sure you're not just going to walk around with this in your pocket for 2 days, right? But you should hear from them in about 48 hours. Make sense? So once you hear from them, all you got to do, shoot me a message. Make sense? So next, after you tell them what's happening, next, you now leave, right? And here comes some more statistics for you. And these vary. So when I look up statistics, just so you know, I shoot from whatever the middle of the lowest is. Follow-up. 98% of salespeople never follow up. It's ridiculous. And you think anybody in the top 10, they got a good follow-up game. I'm telling you right now. Okay. And follow-up in what we do is absolutely vital. I mean, vital. When I went from no follow-up to follow-up, I literally tripled my sales. So this follow-up, and there's going to be lots of follow-up throughout this, understand my follow-up process is pretty salty. Like, it's pretty solid. Okay. So of the 2% of salespeople that follow up, 67% of them will only ever do it one time. In what we do, on average, it's about a 3 to 5 week process. If you don't think you're following up once, you're crazy. If you don't think you're following up more than once, you're absolutely insane. Because let me tell you what happens if you don't follow up in this game. And this took me a long time to figure out because of like the way my mentality works, right? To me, the insurance company only makes money when they take in, not pay out. I only make money when I get them to pay out for you. So to me, homeowners should love me. But let me tell you what happens. If you don't follow up, anything negative in this process is your fault, not the insurance company's. If this takes too long, the only reason it's taking too long is because of the insurance. That is 100% not what the homeowner is going to subconsciously, instinctively feel. They're going to feel it's you, period. So if you're following up, you protect their thoughts from that. If you do not follow up, you will be the bad guy, period. It shouldn't be the case, but that 100% is the case. So your follow-up better be good, okay? And if you're like, you know what, I don't need to, don't holler at me when you suck, all right? So your first follow-up is going to be immediately when you get into that truck. Or if you're, not a cool guy and you have a car, whatever. Cool guys have trucks, okay? And the cool guys for us that sell a good amount of money get a paid for company truck. So, hence why if you don't have a truck, you're not cool. So, what's that?
Did you say they wouldn't let you have a truck?
Yeah, he won't let me have a wrap truck. That's for dang sure, right? So, and you're going to do this via text message. Now, I understand that there may be a very small percentage of old folks that's not going to work for. But for 99.9999999% of the world, you're going to send a text message and you're going to send it immediately. Now, why do you think anybody is free to answer this? Why do you think you're going to send them a text message and immediately?
They can read it whenever they want.
What's that?
They can read it whenever they want. It'll be there for them.
That's accurate, but that's not what I'm looking for.
They have your number?
Yeah, they have your contact info.
Fantastic. And that's why, to me, this day and age, I don't even know where my business cards are. I should have business cards, but no one looks at business card. If I send you a text message, when you get that call 2 days from now from the adjuster, you don't have to go looking for this piece of paper. You don't have to go looking for my business card. You're going, oh, he shot me a text. I make it easy. Your job is to make this process as easy for the homeowner as possible. If you're not making it easy, you will get lost, period. I know you think you're super cool and sexy, but they don't care. If you don't make this super easy, you will fade away. So by shooting that text message, you make it easy. And rather than having to keep a business card or keep the authorization form in their back pocket, they'll just go, Jared from First Priority, saved. Okay? So now, I want to see if anybody, because we've been talking about it for a little bit, and follow-up is, to me, the biggest part of this process, hence why I've spent so much time on it. Why do you think I follow up?
So they don't forget about you.
So they don't forget about me. Correct, but no.
You can keep everything that you've done up to that point. You keep their mindset in the same that you want.
That is true.
Second guess themselves or talk themselves out of it. If you consistently stay in contact and reassure them
Yep.
that they're making the right decision, or reassure them that you take care of everything that they're nervous or they fear,
Mhm.
then they don't have anything to worry about.
So that's not wrong. That is a true statement. Both of you are making true statements, but that's not the answer. Why do I follow up?
Like, why does it benefit you?
Why does it benefit me?
Because another roofer could come and take it from you if you're not serving them.
You're close. You're close. Anybody else? Angel, you want to pop off?
I'm not too sure.
I follow up because I am selling you a roof and I want my money. That may sound shallow, because it is. I say that because when you follow up with that being the mindset, that actually is the best way to do it. I'm not following up because I want to be friends. I'm following up because we are in a transaction, meaning my text messages are short and sweet. I'll have some guys be like, hey, so what was your message to the homeowner? I was like, well, so how was little Sally's game at soccer? Did she win? Was it cool? Like, no. Hey, we're having a sale. Where are we at? If you send them this big old long message, guess what's going to happen? They're going to go, read that later. My text messages are going to be able to be seen and read just from the cliff note that comes up. It's going to be very short and sweet. And the reason it's going to be short and sweet is because you're going to give me money. Period. I'm not calling for anything else. I'm not asking for anything else. Now, once you respond to me, cool, I'll get into those other things. So, perfect example, had a guy who was going through his pipeline the other day. I was like, hey, let me know what your follow-up is. And we were sitting down and having lunch. And he's like, well, I've been ghosted by these 3 homeowners. So he'd gone 2 weeks with these 3 particular homeowners and did not get a response from them. I said, move your bowl aside. I'll move my bowl aside. I want you to text all 3 of them this exact thing. Texted them very quick, very short. Before we were done eating, the 3 customers, I hadn't talked to them in a week and a half, 2 weeks, all communicated back before we left the restaurant. When you are short and sweet, they feel that they get to be short and sweet back. It makes it more comfortable and more convenient for them. If you send them a long message, they're either not going to take the time to read it, or they're going to think that they have to send something back equally long versus yes, no. Your job in a follow-up is to keep communication going. And the easiest way to do that is quickly. Okay? So just like right now, I've gotten 14 messages in the last hour. I'm going to respond to the quickest ones first. If I got 14 to get back, if I can only knock out 12, I'm going to knock out the 12 I can knock out. I'm going to help more people that way. So your follow-up, you're only doing it because you want to make money, keep it about that. Don't make it about something different. If it leads into that, fine. But you're following up because you're making money, period. This is a transaction you and I are having. This is what it takes, right? So when you get into the finance department to buy your car, do they go over each page with you for 30 minutes? No, it's like, sign here and here, sign here. That's what you're doing, okay? Keep it in simple, okay? So, sorry I went off into that pretty deep, but understand that is the purpose of follow-up, because we are going to talk a lot about follow-up throughout this whole process. So, and this is something I will send you guys. This is going to be very crucial and very important to your success. And this line right here, the guy I just told you that got ghosted by 3 of his homeowners, this is what he was not doing, and he did this exact thing and got a response, okay? So you got your authorization, then you have to inform them of the next steps before you leave the house, then you follow up immediately, but then still the next follow-up, because again, you're going to follow up. By the way, I forgot to mention this. You will be following up with this homeowner every 48 hours until their roof is done. So once again, this is a average 3 to 5 week process. You're going to follow up with them every 48 hours. Okay? So after your immediate follow-up where you just sent them a text message, your next follow-up is more than likely going to be in 48 hours, because rather the adjuster hasn't called them back yet, or the adjuster did call them back and they forgot what you said, et cetera, and this is why you only go 48 hours, you're going to say, before I call fill in the blank insurance company, I just want to make sure that you have not heard from them yet. So here's what some guys will do is be like, hey, how you doing? Have you heard from the insurance company? Like, a homeowner can take that and feel like, I've got to do work. He's going to ask me to call the insurance. Like, that's what they're going to think and feel. So they're going to avoid you. Versus you say this, hey, I'm about to take some action. I just want to make sure before I take that action, I'm not requesting anything on your part whatsoever. Have you heard from them? Yes or no? This is where I tell you from here on out, you are telling the homeowner what's happening. You are telling them what's going on. You require nothing from them. This message requires nothing but a yes or no. I have my ghosting of when the homeowners stop responding to me almost disappeared completely when I put that together. Before I call whoever the insurance company is, I just want to make sure you've not heard from them yet. And I will always get a quick response. Okay? Now, here's the next part of that. Let's say they say, oh, and you're going to have this, which is why you only wait 48 hours, aka 2 days. So don't hold up 2 fingers, right? Is they're going to go, oh, shoot, yeah, called me yesterday. He's coming out this day, this time. 100%. And I can tell you how many guys that don't follow up every 48 hours, they go, oh, I haven't talked to him about 2 weeks. Cool. Why don't you call and ask him how the adjuster appointment went? What? Yeah, because it happened already. You just don't know it. And then they'll call and be like, oh, crap. They have already had the adjuster appointment. Told you. Ask me how I know. So they're going to respond with, again, if you have to send this message out, there's only 1 or 2 answers. They got an answer or they got a call from the adjuster and they didn't tell you, or they haven't. Okay. And they'll either say, yes, I have. Sorry, this is the day's coming out. Or they're going to say, no, I haven't. And you're going to say, cool, I'm going to call them. I'll let you know what happens. And you're going to call the insurance company. And this is exactly how you need to call the insurance company. Do not change this. Do not deviate. Because if you just call, hey, this is Marcus the roofer. I'm calling to find out this is what the insurance company hears. Commission, 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 commission. I care about my commission. Okay. However, what you're going to do, because you're the top 10%, you make a lot of money and you're really good at your job, you're going to say, hi, this is whoever you are with First Priority. I'm calling on behalf of Jared. He reached out to me to see if I've heard anything. I haven't. He asked me if I'd call you to find out. I know you got 100 things going on. I'm just doing what he asked me to do. They're going to give you an answer. And let's say their answer is, oh, shoot, yeah, we're coming out this day and time. You got an answer. You give that information to the homeowner. Let's say they go, sorry, we gave it to the adjuster. You should be expecting a call. You're going to call. You're going to send a message to the homeowner. Called. This is what they said. So you're going to immediately send another message to the homeowner telling them what you found. So you're not going to make a statement like, hey, I'm going to call, and then give them another call in 2 weeks. Hey, have you heard? Last time you asked me this question, you told me you were going to do something. You never did it. Do what you say you're going to do. And I will have guys avoid this because, oh my gosh, Marcus, it takes me so long. It takes you 30 freaking seconds. Shut up and do your work. Like, don't give me that crap. That's one of those things that you will find, like, I have certain fuses. If you tell me you don't have time to follow up, that's a fuse. I had a guy the other day that told me it took him 5 hours to follow up with 2 homeowners. No, it didn't. You're trying to find a way around doing work. Like, just shut up and do it. Like, just eat it. Eat that chicken and rice. Okay? So, next step is the adjuster appointment. Now, don't get me wrong. You could have a couple of follow-ups in between the adjuster appointment. You're like, well, yeah, Marcus, but I called them in 2 days, and they're like, hey, the adjuster appointment's 3 weeks away. You mean to tell me I'm going to talk to them every 2 days for 3 weeks just to get nowhere? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because once again, I want them to know this delay is not because of me. Because if they don't know that for a fact, they will think it's the insurance. Insurance is a good guy. You're the bad guy. They will magically think this delay is on you. They just will. Okay. So now you got the adjuster appointment. Now there's a couple different ways you can handle this adjuster appointment. If you look it up on the old YouTube's University, you're going to see all sorts of videos where guys go in and argue with the adjuster and all this stuff. I'm going to tell you right now, don't do it. Don't do it. It ain't going to work. It ain't going to happen. You need to make a friend. Because here's the deal. At the end of the day, we're all just people. And your relationship with the adjuster should not make a hill of beans difference on whether or not that roof gets purchased. The damage is the damage is the damage. Your relationship should not matter, but guess what? It does. I'm sorry, it does. And I've learned this for a couple different ways. The guy who actually taught me was a guy who'd go get in arguments with adjusters. And when I started, it was during a time of there hadn't been storms in a long time. We needed adjusters to be our friends. Well, magically, one day it just hit me. I was like, you know what? I'm going to start being nice to these guys. Like, I don't like being mean to people. I'm just going to be nice and see what happens. Magically, I started getting all sorts of deals bought and approved, and he wasn't. He's like, how are you getting deals bought? I'm like, you're not going to like my answer. He goes, no, I want to know. What are you doing? I said, I'm not a dick. And he goes, were you saying I am? Yep. To them, you are. Well, Marcus, they're being. I'm like, cool. How was I working for you, bro? You asked me, I'm telling you. Just telling you. Do you want to get Roos paid for it, or do you want to win? Like, I don't care about winning. I care about winning. Okay? You know what I mean? So, and he never did listen to me, and I always got more roof spot than him. But you need to make a friend out of it. So there was a couple different adjusters in my area when I very first started selling that literally denied me until they got to like me. And then once they liked me, I saw them approve roofs without even looking at it. Now that's wrong. That's not right. But it is what it is. So you might as well make a friend out of that adjuster. And something that most guys are scared to do, and I'm never going to be scared because I'm just going to keep it real with the homeowner and the adjuster. So you guys have heard me say, like, if I got a roof that was just smoked because it was a roof, but had some hail, I'm going to tell the homeowner that. I'm going to be like, hey, listen, you need a roof just because you need a roof, but there happens to be some hail on there. I would say the same thing to the adjuster. When that adjuster would get out of the truck, you even got any hail on this thing? I mean, we do. Honestly, the bigger issue, the roof's just old and worn out, but it does have some hail. Every single time I said that to an adjuster, you know what they immediately thought? This guy's real. And it immediately puts that huge wall up that all adjusters carry. I would just watch come crashing down. Crashing down. I'd be like, wow, I thought if I would say that they would immediately deny me. Nope. So keep it 100. All right. Make a friend. So what happens after the adjuster appointment? Good job. You guessed right. You're going to inform the homeowner of the next steps. You never leave the homeowner without telling them what happens next. Because this process may be all cool, no big deal to you. You've got to let them know. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of guys. So you have the first gap is from an inspection to an authorization, like what's your close right there. Okay. The next one is from authorization to scopes. And scopes are the estimate from the insurance company. And this is where the biggest percentage of guys get that drop. When I say it takes 3 authorizations to get 2 contracts, this is why. This is where most people lose it. This is the most important time you need to tell them what happens next, because when they get that scope, it is meant to be scary. I've got guys that have worked with us for years and still have to have help every time they see a scope because they are meant to be confusing. So if you allow that homeowner to take that big confusing thing without having told them, they're going to get nervous and scared and they're just going to walk away from the deal. So you better be telling them what happens next. Okay. So the next thing that happens is going to be the estimate from the homeowner or from the insurance company. So what you're going to tell them is very, very simple. It's going to be, hey, just to let you know, and some insurance companies are different. Some insurance companies, he's going to go out in his truck and write an estimate right then and there, and you're going to have it in 30 seconds. Other homeowners are going to have to wait 3 weeks before they get their estimate. You'll learn who's what. I'm not going to give you a list because it's different for every adjuster. Like it's always different. You'll just have to figure out your area for yourself. Sorry. But you're going to let them know. What's going to happen is they're going to give you an estimate. No big deal. What I need you to do is just give it to me and I'll put together some options for you. And we're going to get into why options are so big. So those of you that have roofed before or been in roofing sales, have you ever sat down with an insurance contract and given your homeowner options? That will increase your close rate tremendously. And when I started giving options, I almost always got upgrades and I never discounted. I went from discounting like crazy to almost always getting upgrades. I got upgrades, I think like 91, 92% of the time, where most guys are getting. So I never go in and be like, hey, this is your only way to go. So when you tell a homeowner, when they get this big scary thing, hey, all you got to do is send a copy to me, email it to me, whatever, and I'm going to put together some options. When you say that, when they get that big scary number in front of their face, rather than being scared and running away from you, they're going to be like, you know what? Jared said he's got my back. He's going to get, he's got something for me. I feel it. He's got something for me here. Okay. Does that make sense? So then you're going to do follow-up. And once again, sometimes this is where this may be a little wonky because they may write it right then and there. It may take them 2 days to get the estimate. It may take 3 weeks to get the estimate. Who knows? It all varies. Okay. But remember, you're following up every 48 hours. So once again, your follow-up in this process is exactly the same. Hey, before I call, I just want to make sure you haven't heard from them. Period. If they haven't heard, what are you going to do? Hey, this is Marcus at First Priority Roofing. A customer just had, we've been over it. So again, this big sheet that you got, you just repeat this over and over and over again every 2 days for 3 to 5 weeks. It's not that hard. Okay. Now, once you actually get the scope, you need to chill out. You need to act like a pro. You need to act like you've been there before. Number one rookie mistake. As soon as you get the estimate, hey. All right. Okay, cool. So here's what we got. Here's the numbers. You want to sign? No, dude, settle down. I got things to do. I got other inspections. I got other contracts to write. I've been here before. I'm already making money. I don't care if I sign this deal today or a year from now. So settle your butt down. And I know you think, but man, I got nothing else going on. you got stuff going on. Chill out. This next part is going to be, if you follow me on this, I guarantee you will always get a sit down with the homeowner. And getting a sit down is absolutely crucial. Case in point, I had an old boy in one of our states that 3 months kept getting scopes, he couldn't get a contract. And he just refused to listen to me. Shocker. Like, why you refuse to listen to me when I'm clearly awesome? He just refused. He kept emailing out his contracts, kept emailing him out. I'm like, bro, you're trying to get people to spend 20 grand with you through an email. You need to sit down with them. So he went from 3 months to never closing to I forced him to finally start sitting down with homeowners and following my process. Closed 3 in 1 week. Okay, so this is going to get you to sit down with the homeowner, and that is a crucial component. So if you follow this exactly, the homeowner will always sit down with you. Okay. So once again, just like I said, you need to not get in a hurry. And I'll be like, cool, I'll come go over it with you right now. Tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together some options for you, and then we'll sit down and go over this. Because if I put together some options and we sit down 30 minutes from now, I did not really think very well about my options. But if I took some time, put in some legitimate effort to give you some options that are legitimate options for you, again, all subconscious, that's going to mean a little more. Okay. So I want to let you guys know what a scope looks like so you can have an idea of what I'm talking about. Now, this is going to just be kind of some of the pages. Like, these scopes are generally like 15 pages, so we're not going to go through all of them. First page is going to be something similar to, hey, here's your information, here's your address, here's your policy, yada, yada, yada. Then you're going to see the scary pages, okay? You're going to have the one page that's got all the things written on it. It's like all the things that we're doing. And this page is generally going to be a couple. And then there is what I call the money page, AKA the scary page. And right here, most people are going to see this and freak out. Because they're going to see it's a $16,000 roof, but I'm only getting $5,000. No, $16,000 roof, your first check's $5,000, then your second check's another $5,000. Like, they don't read it the way it needs to be read. All they see is, oh my gosh, I'm going to be out 10 grand. No, thank you, Marcus. So once again, this is why it's so important. All you have to do is forward it on to me. I'm going to put together some options for you. They're going to have that in their head. And they're going to go, oh, he's got a way around this, I bet. And I don't, but I know that I need to sit down with you to make this not scary. Yeah. So it seems like I'm trying to work around or cheat. I'm not. I'm just trying to keep you from freaking out so I can very easily explain this to you. Because like, this one was a great policy, but it's meant to look like he wasn't getting much. Okay. So as again, you're informing them of the next steps. I need to take a look at this, put together some options, and then notice, remember I said statements? Then we will sit down and go over them. I'm not asking you to sit down. I'm telling you, we're going to sit down and we're going to do this. And then this right here, this is how you set the appointment. This is absolutely crucial. You do not change this. And again, I could tell you stories. Got a guy, one of our guys that kept refusing to do this, could never get to sit down with somebody. Finally started doing this. He's like, hey, that's so easy. They just follow along. Really? I'm so surprised. I had no idea that what I put all this time and effort into worked. I'm so shocked. Hey, Jared, or whatever their name is, Robert, Will, whatever, right? I got some options put together for you, or if you're a real stud, you guys. Now, here's a little tip for you that I haven't gone into, and I waited for this. If you're dealing with a husband and wife, start a group text message. If you want to be a pro and you got 2 parties, put it in a group. All your follow-up, all your everything needs to be to the 2 of them. And I'll tell you right now, the first time I did this, the most amazing thing happened. The objections that they had that I never got to hear, they just had right there in front of me. Like, literally, I got one, I'm not sure I want to do this anymore. And she forgot it was the group text message. It was like, what do you think I did? Handled it. Like, you want to be a pro, put together a group text. And then also, you force conversation to happen between the two of them. Communication is the failure of everything. You force the communication to happen, and then you're included in that communication. So hopefully all your follow-up has gone this way, but I got some options put together for you guys. I did what I said I was going to do. What is a good time to sit down and go over them? I didn't say, can we sit down and go over them? I said, what is a good time? I currently can do this day, this time, this day, this time. And I don't care. Those can say what they want. Me personally, whether it's, both of them say Wednesday or this is Wednesday, this is Friday, I'm going to give an afternoon time and an evening time. So I'm going to give like a 12 or 1, and then I'm going to give like a 5-ish. And here's what's going to happen. They're going to pick one, or they're going to say, I can only do this. Versus the way most people do it, hey, when's a good time to sit down? Like, now the options are endless. Like, it's too much. You're asking them, again, you have to make this easy for them. Oh, I only got to pick, cool. One of these work. And then once again, subconsciously, you're busy. You got things like people don't want to be sold, but they do want to work with the best. And if you're busy, you're the best. Okay? So now what are you doing? Contract, cut the check. Hopefully everybody knows this movie. If you don't, it's Jerry Maguire. There, right? So now it's contracting day. Cut the check. And once again, if you find yourself sitting down for the contract and you're still selling, you have not done your job properly. If you do the pitch properly and you do all the follow-ups and all the information that you've had to do this whole time, you've been doing it accordingly, you're doing pretty good. Okay? And the contract day is only ever what option they're signing. Very easy. Okay? So here's an idea what the contract looks like. Once again, we have these in digital form and paper form. I'm really not going to get into that because there's no point right now. And then what happens after they sign the contract? No. You inform them of the next steps. Remember, you never leave without telling them what's going to happen the next time. Okay? And what are the next steps in this situation? We're going to get into that, but you need to let them know all the things coming up. Okay? So what's coming up, and this is what's most important. And if you've been doing your follow-up, they believe you are the guy that is right on top of things. The insurance company is not. Okay? Because what's going to happen here, and I'm telling you what you tell them, and I'm also telling you just so you know, what's going to happen here is I'm going to get this submitted to the office as soon as we get back because we're actually an amazing company, and I have a guy who does all this other stuff for me. I just get to keep selling. Yay. So I'm going to get all this submitted to the office. Within 24 hours, we will have everything to the insurance company. And what we're saying to the insurance company is, hey, insurance company, if I do these things to this house at this time, so on and so forth, will you be sending a depreciation check of this amount? Yes or no? And we are going to wait until they reply for us. Because last thing I want to do is to get a roof built, get it all put on, and then go, oh, yeah, they wouldn't pay that for X, Y, and Z reason. You owe me more money. You don't want that. So we're going to wait till they respond back. That's generally about a 3-week process. And you may be thinking, Marcus, what it is that you're saying. So, for example, my second year in this, which was amazing, the hailstorm literally hit my neighborhood. Like, I got to walk to work. It was amazing. So my neighbor, we were all done. He was supposed to be getting his second check from the insurance company's depreciation check. He got shorted $2,000. So he calls me up. He said, hey, man, I guess I just owe you more money. I said, whoa, what are you talking about? Long story short, it was a busy time, right? They changed adjusters so many times, they lost one of the scopes that they had approved. And had we not had that paperwork from them proving, hey, if I do this, if I pay this, like if I didn't have that to send them, he would have been shorted $2,000. So because we had that, because we did our due diligence, we got him his money. If you don't think he was happy about that, you crazy. So we're going to let them know the process because once again, this is probably going to be about 3 weeks. They just handed you a check. They just handed you a contract. You don't want them thinking the reason for delay is on you. And it's not. Like, I'm probably ready to go in the next week, week and a half. But I have to wait on the insurance because I've been in those situations where you guys got hosed, right? Now, if it's a leak or a real estate job, that's a different story. Talk about that later. This is for like just large majority of what we're dealing with, okay? So next, you're going to submit the job. The job submittal, for some reason, I've seen guys, like I actually had a guy earlier this month, took 2 weeks to submit a couple jobs. I'm like, that's what pays you, bro. So now there's 2 weeks of delay that the homeowner's not getting their roof because you didn't want to sit down for 5-10 minutes and do the work. Like, sit down, punch it in. I can literally do a job submittal. Like, if you handed me all your paperwork and I've never seen it, I can literally have it done in 5 minutes. If I'm the one that's been doing it all, it's going to take me like 2 minutes. It's not that hard. It's not that hard because everything already exists in the system. You go, hey guys, I sold this. Paperwork's filed. Send. Like, very simple. It's not that hard. So next, that's right, you're following up with the homeowner because once again, this is probably a 3-week process. And you're like, I'm really just going to tell them, hey, everything's been sent off. We're still waiting. For 3 weeks, every 2 days? Yes, that's exactly what I'm telling you. Because if you're doing that, if the homeowner's getting a message from you every 2 days, do you think for a second they're going to believe that this is your fault, not the insurance's fault? Absolutely not. But if you go 3 weeks without talking to them, whose fault are they going to think it is? Your fault. 100%. Try me. Next comes the build day. This is the most awesomest day ever. This is where all the things you've told them, all the stories, all the promises, all come true. Okay? So I'm going to let you know what it is that I would do on a build day, and I would recommend you do the same because, again, it worked really well for me. If you want to try something else, cool, try it. Holler at me when you want help. On the build day, you're going to show up the day of. I have guys be like, why do I need to show up on the build day? I don't want to go and do work. I'm not telling you to go do work, but like, you've done all this do you want that homeowner to think you just took the money and run? Like, that's not hot because I don't want just that homeowner's business. I want all their friends. I want their neighbors. Like, and if I'm the guy who just takes the money and run, I'm probably not getting those things. So I'm going to show up on the build day. Now I'm going to show up in the middle of the day, meaning I want to have everything tore off. Now, why do you think I'm showing up in the middle of the day versus in the beginning or in the end? Anybody?
Check on work. They'll be home for lunch. I'll check on the work.
I'm going to check on the work, which means two things. Before I head out, I want them to basically be all tore off. I want them to be down to decking for a couple reasons. I'm going to call before I head out. Hey, Mark, just to let you know, I'm about to head up there. Is there anything you guys need before I get there? If he tells me, yeah, we need such and such, cool, I'm going to go snag it for him real quick. If they tell me, no, I don't need anything, when they call me later and say, ooh, hey, actually, I'm missing this. Cool. Try to get that for you. So go get it. I'm going to give you the chance. I'm going to be nice. I want my crews to like me. Like, you want to have a good relationship with your crews. And by the time they get to the tear off, they should know everything that they need. And if they don't, that's on them. But then also, you get to check on them. Unfortunately, guys are going to get away with whatever you let them get away with. They just will. So there was a time where I was super busy and I didn't show up to build. And sure enough, that's the day that on the backside, they didn't tear off all the felt. Well, that's on me. They didn't tear all the felt off. So that's on me. I made them fix it, but had I just shown up and see it all tore off, and when they see me show up, they know they don't get skip steps. And also when it's tore off, I get to see that they put ice and water in all the penetrations, and I get to see all the promises I told the homeowner are coming true. So I get to remain confident in what I'm doing. And then also, and typically the homeowner's not going to be there. Trust me, you don't want the homeowner there on build day because it gets loud. They may say, oh, I can handle it. No, you can't. And your dog's also going to lose their mind. So I'm just going to shoot them a picture of a couple things, be like, hey, all going well. That way that they know I'm there, right? And most of them have a Ring doorbell, so they see you there. I've had some, hey, I see you're there. I'm like, well, dadgum, I was going to check the place out before you called me, right? So I've had some of that. But I'm going to walk around and make sure it's all going good. Then the best part, I'm going to knock on them neighbors' doors. If you don't knock your builds, you are absolutely insane. When builds are going on, it is like free money falling from the heavens. It is insane. So I say that because I'll even knock on somebody else's build. Like, I'm not kidding you. Now, I'm not going to tell them I'm the one doing it, but if I see a build, no one knocking, I'll go knock on it. How about guys here that just refuse to go knock their builds? I went and knocked their builds, and I ended up getting more sales in their neighborhood than they did. Like, you're not going to do it, I'm going to. I honestly, legitimately, and I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I do not think I've ever knocked a build and not had success. I literally don't think I've ever knocked a build and not had success. I may be wrong, but it would be very slim. And I've knocked every build. Well, except for the ones where they're out in the BFEs and they don't like have it. If they don't have a neighbor to knock, okay, maybe that's different. Still don't know all the other things though, right? Like I did have a guy who was very, very, very particular, and he did live about an hour out of town. He's like, so you're going to be here when it's going on? I said, nope, I will show up once in the middle of the day for about 15 minutes. You're not going to be the whole time? Nope. I'm not a builder. Like, you don't want me putting your roof together, bro. Like, that's not what you want from me. And like, he was the guy, like, he almost backed out. I'm like, hey, sorry, it's not going to happen. Everybody follow? Okay.
Yep.
So next is going to be the walkthrough. Now, when do you think you're going to walk through after the build? So like a month later, a week later, the exact second it's all cleaned up, like when are you going to do it? 48 hours?
Or within 48 hours?
Dude, 48 hours is exactly right. So let me tell you why I'm going to do it 48 hours later. One, because the build's honestly probably getting done during the dark. And they're going to have, like, they've just been through a wretched day of noise and hecticness. Like, that's not the time to do it. Okay. By doing it 2 days later, again, a lot of this stuff is going to be subconscious, right? I'm kind of subconsciously letting you know, hey, anything that happens, like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, we've been down this road before. I have full confidence that you don't need to freak out about anything that happens on your roof. Because if you don't tell them that, they're going to freak out about anything they see, right? So this is what I'm going to tell a homeowner. Hey, after the build, I'm going to come by, or, you know, it's done that day, but hey, I'm going to be by in a couple days. What I want you to do is once they're gone, I want you to really I want you to find a problem. And whether you have a whole list of problems, just jot it down. And when I come out Wednesday, we'll go over it all. So I'm letting them know you're going to find things. So when they find something, they don't freak out. And then two, I want to know about it and I'm going to handle it. Like, doing it in that manner does so many things that you have no idea. And the majority of the time, you're not even going to hear anything. And if you do, they're like, hey, so I did find this. We'll talk about it when you come out. Cool. But then also, a roof's actually going to lay a little bit flatter. If you go out as soon as it's built, like, there's going to be some shingles that ain't laid down yet, especially if it's not the dead heat of summer. So you want them to see that that thing's going to settle a little bit. So they look at it day one, then when you come back out day two, you're like, well, it had a spot, but I don't actually see it now. Just makes the whole thing easier. You're still going to do it because you're still not going to have that other insurance check yet. Like, waiting 2 days, just trust me, it's a better way to have it.
Plus, you've already done every 48 hours for the last 5 weeks. Why would you keep the same?
Bam.
Consistent?
Love it. So the last part of the process, why do I keep pointing at the screen? That's not, no. Oh, that means I lost him too.
Yeah.
Oh, Scotty.
What are we?
Dang technologies. Hopefully he wasn't gone for a long time.
I think it just happened.
And we're about to take a break too. Couldn't have just waited 2 seconds. There he is. There's a call button I need to. All right. We're going to take a break here in just a second, guys. So give me a.
No, I went down and got some breakfast.
There we go.
Did you eat good breakfast? It looked out earlier.
Yeah, just the internet here isn't super fast, so it takes a second. Angel, there you are. Sorry, man.
Yes, sir. Could you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. That's my bad. We lost connection there.
He hung up on you.
Okay. Angel, you with me?
Yes, sir.
All right. We'll finish hammering through this real quick. Okay. So you've done the walkthrough. After the walkthrough, get that money. Okay. Now, typically speaking, this is going to be an insurance job. And typically speaking, that secondary insurance check comes in about 2 weeks. Okay. So the get that money part's probably going to be about 2 weeks in. But trust me, you don't get paid until that gets paid. So you're going to want to do a good job of getting that. Okay. So here it all is in the short and skinny. And the stupid thing is, looks like we're missing some of the page there. So anyhow, the top two that you can't see, it says say hi, because yes, you're going to screw it up. The inspection, the pitch, the authorization, inform next steps, follow up, adjuster appointment, inform next steps, follow up, scope, inform next steps, set appointment, contracts, inform next steps, job submittal, follow up, build, walkthrough, get that money. So if you notice, follow up and inform next steps happens several times. If you're getting ghosted, I'm going to tell you right now, the most probable cause is you did not tell them what was going to happen next and you didn't follow up, or a combination of the two. What's up, dude?
Hey, sorry to interrupt.
You're good.
Chick-fil-A for those guys at Park County. You guys want some Chick-fil-A?
Yeah. Sure.
You guys want?
I would love some.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
Hey, you want some chicken sandwiches and fries, or you want some chicken nuggets?
I like the naked nuggets. I'll take a sandwich.
Then, we got y'all.
Good, whatever. Appreciate you, Josh. Thanks, bro. I was almost going to say,
He's good, isn't he?
I was going to take you guys out for free. And I was like, yeah, I'll let him buy it. That's fine. If I'm going to pay for it, that's good.
Free
Right.
lunch is always best.
Right? I'm like, dang it, that's probably not healthy, but whatever. I'll just make up for it when I get home. All right. So does everybody understand the process? All make sense? All picking up what we're putting down? All right. So see, if only the internet would have broken 10 minutes or 5 seconds. All right. We're almost there. All right. Let's take because we've hammered through it for a minute. Let's take a 10-minute break. All right. I got some calls to catch up on real quick. So
Do you ask for roles on the walkthrough day then? Like the
Asking for referrals. That's a really good question. So I'll be honest. To get good at referrals took me quite some time. Like it always just felt really sleazy for me. You know, I didn't like it. You know what I mean? And then when I realized, you know what, I've earned the right to ask, and I ask right from the get-go. But the better and better I got at it, I almost actually didn't ask. It almost just started happening. So Vadim is probably the referral king. He's out in Colorado. He asks, you know, like right from the get-go. And he'll tell you that's the way to go. And I don't disagree with that. Just for me personally, it almost just kind of started happening. And when I stopped selling, I was averaging 2 to 3 referrals a day. So, and I guess I probably did ask, but me personally, and Vadim will definitely say this, very first interaction. So, and a good way to get referrals, a lot of times, so there's a couple keys to about referrals. One, when you're asking, like what I would ask is, hey, do you know some of your neighbors? Like, because like they're directly related to you. What happened there is probably going to happen here versus you may not be like and I'm a roofer and I couldn't necessarily just think of a friend that probably needs a roof right now. You know what I mean? So, but then the other thing to think about, like when referrals really start getting good, you need to think about what the conversation your homeowner's having when they're not with you. So here's what I mean by that. Let's say we go out on a double date, right? And we're just sitting there and it just so happens to come up, we're having a conversation about, oh yeah, hey, we got our roof put on. Unfortunately, that's probably about how it's going to go with 99%. Like even if you had a seller going, yeah, we had a roof put on. They're not going to say anything about you. They're not going to say anything about first priority. But if their interaction with you has been so good, man, so we had a roof and Blake did this, he did like, versus now they're talking about a guy versus about the process. And if they're talking about a guy, what do you think these old boys are going to do? Oh, well, shoot. You got his number? So that's what you want. What does the conversation look like when you're not around? Are they talking about the process that they went through? Or are they talking about the guy? Cool. So let's take 10 minutes. So that's going to make it 13 after. Okay.
It's almost like attracting a woman. Pre-selection.
Mm-hmm.
Come here. Drive me nuts.
Oh, dadgummit. Thank you. Hey, you gotta let a guy know. So I'm out in the parking lot when I serve at church, and the whole parking lot screams like you were there. Like all the time, I got the tags and the vest sticking out, and I'm like always going around putting the tags in for everybody, and they're like, "How come nobody tells?" I'm like, "I don't know. I guess I'm the only one that cares about us having tags freaking hanging out."
It's just the military. Still.
Yeah, like,
It's like
and with like so. When I'm out in the field, my shirt is it is 100% tucked in all the time, like without question. But I can't stand a sloppy tuck. Like if I do tuck it, people are always like, man, were you in the military? Like, no, I just had a guy show me a military tuck one day and I'm like, oh, wow. Because if you're doing it that way, you only have the crease in one or in 2 spots, like versus creases everywhere. Like it's more comfortable. Like it looks better. It's all the things, right? So it's like, I had a guy I work with show me the military tuck eons ago, and by gosh, I don't move off of it.
ain't broke, don't fix it. That's what I don't understand. Somebody's like, why they would stray from like what is proven to work. Why try to change it up like you? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know it's crazy. My kids called me this month.
Oh, really?
First time in 5 months.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome, man.
their mom didn't know.
Uh-oh. That's not doing anything, is it?
No, they just, I
Open
guess
up.
they have her phone, like, just like, well, like, awesome. Should be.
I'm really making things, swinging down to Texas after this.
Got you. I think you said you wanted, what'd you say you wanted?
Spicy chicken.
Spicy chicken? And I got, what do you want?
Same thing,
Same
same
thing.
thing.
All
I
right.
ain't picky.
Thank you.
You're welcome, dude, no problem.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Where are the actual crews based out of?
What do you mean? The crews that actually build the roofs?
Yeah.
We got multiple crews in each location.
Okay. You just like work through local people?
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I got a handful to blow through real quick.
You ain't got to apologize to us.
Only got 43 messages so far this morning, right? No big deal.
Light morning.
Like when I come into work, literally every day, I have like 150 emails that I have to go through, and like there's nothing worse than like they'll start with a thread, the subject line will be about something, and then at the very end, at the bottom, they've been talking all day. So when I come in on third shift, they'll be talking about something completely different at the bottom, and you have to read through everything, otherwise you miss something. And
That's right.
oh my god, that's the worst thing ever. Like email etiquette drives me
Email.
nuts.
Hate email. Nobody knows how to do it.
God.
But I would rather an email than a meeting that should have been an email.
Yeah.
Those are even more annoying. You guys, we literally could have just settled this in 2 minutes with an email.
Yeah, or like, it's almost like they're afraid to call me like during the day. So they'll be going back and forth for hours, like customer service and like our shipping. Trying to figure out what in the world I did or what in the world's going on, just call me. I'll get it 2 seconds. Saved you 2 hours worth of email and back and forth. You gonna make it?
Yeah.
It's cold here, man, so it's like, I get it.
Did you just say it's cold in here?
Yeah, I'm freezing.
It's freaking hot in here. What's wrong with y'all?
I was made for Florida.
You guys are like my friend's wife. She wears a sweatshirt in August.
That's what I do all the time.
What's that?
When I was in school and stuff, I wore a hoodie year round.
Oh my gosh. All right. Plug back in. Angel, how about it? You back with us?
Sir, I'm here.
All right. So I guess we got food coming, so that changes my plans a little bit. I normally don't get free food, so we'll take it. So we're gonna go a little bit, and then when the food gets here, we'll take an hour lunch just whenever it is that the food gets here. Sound like a plan, everybody? So, all right. So we've gone through the process. Now, what I want to talk to you guys about is tracking. I'm going to let you know kind of what tracking looks like specifically to this. So if you remember when I talked about yesterday, most people don't do the math right, or they judge their results, not their actions. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm actually going to show you some examples of how to do the math. So whenever I call you or your manager in your area calls you and he talks about pipeline, this is what he's talking about. So the pipeline is super important. If you don't have a pipeline, you don't got any work. Okay. So a pipeline is very crucial. And the pipeline is honestly, it's pretty easy. It doesn't take much. You can follow up on it every day. And if you follow up on it every day, like I've talked about, that's going to be the good way to go. Notice that you want every part of this pipeline to what your level of full is going to be. Okay. So the part of the pipeline, it's only 4 things: inspections, authorizations, scopes, and contracts. So those are the 4 things you need to look at. And when you're looking at those, what you need to know, if everything's good, everything's on pace, cool. Keep doing what you're doing. If something is weak, you need to do the math to find the problem. So like, for example, let's say you have a ton of authorizations, a ton of inspections, and you don't have any contracts, then there's a specific problem. If everything looks about evened out, and if you guys remember yesterday when I showed you the math, right? Like how much what should be. So like for 3 authorizations, you should be able to get 3 or 2 contracts. If you find out you got 3 authorizations and 0 contracts, you need to figure out what that problem is. Or if you find out that you got 3 authorizations and 3 contracts, you need to figure out what you're doing really well. Because what we tend to do in this industry, but especially as men, we're really good at finding problems, but we're really actually bad at acknowledging wins properly other than, oh, hey, I feel good. So when you get a win, I just don't want you to go, oh, hey, I feel good. I want you to find out why it worked so that you can keep doing it. Otherwise, it's just, oh, hey, that worked well, and you don't actually know why, because you want to repeat that. You know that you don't want to repeat bad steps, but you do want to repeat good steps. So find out what your good and your bad is and act accordingly. So some examples. When you asked me yesterday how many conversations you're having, here's that work. Okay. So let's talk about if you have low inspections. This is going to be where your issues are. Now, I'm going to give you the honest truth, or my opinion, if you will. And we all know what that means. If you're low on inspections, oh crap, my bad. If you're low on inspections, flat out, you haven't done the work. Period. If you're low on inspections, you haven't done the work. Large majority of the time. Okay. If your inspections are weak, okay, that's a little bit different story. But if you haven't got inspections, you're flat not putting the work in. That's all there is to it. Okay. You're not knocking 50 doors a day. What's up?
I have a question because I have a family that I was working with. I think on Sunday, because I know that they said they needed a new roof, but they're renters. So, like, does that still work, or they have to be the homeowners?
They have to be the homeowners. And what you need to do in that case is, do you work through a property management company, or do you actually know your landlord? And that's who you need to get in contact with, or they need to get in contact for you. Because renters would love for you to do cool, fun things to their home because it doesn't cost them anything. But the man paying the bills may feel differently. So, yeah, renters can want it all day long. So, if you're knocking 50 doors a day, I promise you're going to have inspections. So let's understand that. I want to be real clear about that. So in other words, like if we're going through your pipeline and you have no inspections, I'm not going to go any further than you're straight up not knocking 50 doors a day. If you tell me otherwise, you're a liar and I can prove it. Sorry, just all there is to it. So if you're knocking 50 doors a day, what does it need to look like? You need to have 10 conversations. So what do I mean by conversations? A renter would not count as a conversation. If their mom and dad is who answers the phone, or the phone, mom or dad answers, they're visiting their kids, it's not their house, that's not a conversation. If their child answers, not a conversation. Hopefully Their parents are home and they wouldn't be answering the door, right? So a conversation needs to be, they open the door. Now, if they open the door and immediately close it in your face before you get to speak, that's not a conversation. But if they open the door, you go, "Hi, I'm Marcus with First Priority Roofing." "No, thank you." That's a conversation. If you got a chance to speak to the homeowner, that's a conversation. Okay? So you should have 10 of them. So, based off of those conversations, there's a couple different ways it can go. If you're having conversations but getting no's, but they're all the same no's, like everybody's telling you the exact same thing, it's something that you are doing. It's something specifically in your pitch, something that you're wearing. You need to figure it out. And yes, there was one day, I mean, because you're going to go out door knocking sometimes, you're going to get your teeth kicked in. So well before we had uniforms, we just, wore whatever polo we had that day or whatever. And one day I am getting my teeth kicked in exceptionally hard. I'm like, what did I do to you guys? So I go walking back out to my truck to get a drink, and I notice in the reflection, I got on a white button up and black pants. Straight up looked like a Bible salesman running around. So I was like, oh, went home and changed. And all of a sudden I stopped getting kicked in the teeth. I'm like, man, thought roofers had it bad. If I see you boys walking around, you guys got another level. Yeah. Man, I was like, okay. Yeah. So if you're getting the same no's, it's something you are doing. If everyone says, the damage wasn't that bad. Like if everybody says that to you, you're doing something that is giving them that natural response. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you're getting a bunch of different no's, like you're hearing no's, but they're all different, you're not good at giving information and you don't know enough. So if you're getting no's, that means they're telling you something. You need to get better at overcoming objections. And some of that just takes time. So a big key to that I'll tell you if we ever go over this and you're at that point, but I'll go ahead and tell you now, you need to have 10 objections at your hip pocket at all time. So in other words, 10 questions that if you get stumped, you can ask a homeowner. And those 10 questions will always change and evolve. But you need to write down 10. So like an example of that would be, hey, do you know how old your roof is? Like if you're just getting stumped, I don't know what to say, you got 10 go-tos always in your hip pocket. Okay? So the other part, that's assuming you had your 10 conversations. If you didn't have your 10 conversations, then we need to figure out, did you go knocking at the wrong time? If you're like, yeah, I was knocking at 8 o'clock in the morning. No wonder, right? Or if everybody was a renter, you need a new neighborhood, right? So if you knock 50 doors, you need to have at least 10 conversations. Now, if you knock 50 doors, you knocked at the wrong time, that's on you. But if it's for something else, okay. But you need to have 10 conversations. So like I was talking to a guy on the way here this morning, he knocked 58 doors and had 4 conversations. I'm like, okay, we got a problem. And we dove through it and we figured it out. So, and that problem, it wasn't him. It's where he decided to go, but it wasn't him. Okay. So maybe you're weak, and this is just another example. So if you're low on inspections, majority, like I said, let's establish and let's be real clear. If you're low on inspections, you're not out doing work, period. It's a more likely scenario. Let's say that you are out doing the work. You have your door knocking, as you can see, is the main part of it, but maybe you're super weak on closing leads. Meaning leads is the office sets you up with an appointment within a time. Okay. And the way that normally goes is I find most guys think that there's a difference between leads and door knocking. There is no difference. Everybody just has this assumption, hey, if it's a lead, they're basically going to open the door and hand me a check. Nope. You're still starting a conversation out of thin air. You need to figure it out. So the reason I say this is I'm going to give you two extreme examples. Our sales manager out in Utah closes leads at 87%. You're like, okay, what does that mean? Industry average is 25. So he is freaking salty at closing some leads. However, if he goes and knocks a door, he is the worst we got in the company almost. Like the difference, 100% him and his mindset. How do I know that? Complete flip side, one of our guys in Kansas couldn't close a lead if his life depended on it. If you held his puppy and said, your puppy dies if you don't close this, that puppy's getting killed. But he knocks on a stranger's door, he will take their safety deposit box with a smile on their face. It's insane. The only difference in those two scenarios is the mentality of that salesperson, period. So sometimes I see guys that have a huge discrepancy from one to the other. In my opinion, because it is also the average, you should close and have a higher close rate on your own self-generated leads than you do office leads. Just my opinion. Okay. So another reason that you may be low on inspections is they felt the other guy that was better than you. Like maybe you're knocking in a storm area and the other guys that came by that they allowed on the roof, they were smoother than you. Like maybe that's it, right? So, but if you're low on inspections, those are going to be the main reasons. Well, some of the reasons. The main reason is you're probably just not doing the work. Okay. So let's say you're low on authorizations. So first you got to get an inspection, then you got to get an authorization. Here's the reasons that you're low on authorizations. You're not selling when you come down. You're probably like, yeah, I am. No, clearly you're not. Clearly you're not. So like I told you, most guys will shortcut the inspection and shortcut the pitch, as you notice on here, right? When you come down off the roof, that is sell mode. It is time to lock in. That is literally the only time you should sell throughout this process if you do it right, but you got to do it. Okay. So next, they're saying no, meaning you don't know how to overcome objections. You don't have those 10 things in your hip pocket. You can't get over their objections. And you are actually taking their no's at face value. Meaning you think their no legitimately means no. Versus what you're telling me right now is you just don't believe me yet. So a money objection, and I want you guys to understand the difference between an objection and reality. And I want you to really take this home. And these are both money related. Okay? An objection about money is, man, I got to be honest with you. I got a $5,000 deductible and I just don't have that money right now. I'm going to need to see what else we can do. That means they're going to go find competition. They're going to find somebody that does it better than you. That is a money objection, okay? That is them saying, you haven't given me information to make me trust you yet. Versus a legitimate money objection, so that when you see it, you know it, is, man, I hear what you're saying. We need a roof. We got a $5,000 deductible, and we honestly don't have it. What can we do? That's a legitimate money objection. When they're giving it to you and they're saying, what can we do? That's them saying, I want this. I want you. Help me. So that's a different story. Anything other than that, I'm going to get 3 bids. That's an objection. They don't trust you yet. If they truly believe you, like you heard me say earlier on today, right? If they believe you, they believe that they need a roof. They believe that the offer you're giving them is a legitimate offer. They're going to go with you. Period. Yo.
So I was talking to a buddy of mine who said he has an uncle who does this, and saying the way he would get around people who said they didn't have the deductible, he put a sign in their yard and pay them for 6 months to have the sign in the yard at advertisement and pay half the deductible or whatever.
Yep.
And is that something that you can do, or is that illegal, or how does that work?
That's called insurance fraud.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yep, that's called insurance fraud. So we're going to get into that in a little bit. A little bit today, a little bit tomorrow. Because that's a super big one. So here's something to think about. And the thing you have to get over as salespeople is just what is instinctive in homeowners that they don't even know is an instinct for them, right? So most people still think that their deductible is $500, $1,000. When I started in this, $500 was kind of what it was. The average now is $3,300. Okay, so could $500 be eaten in the cost of a roof? Pretty easily. Is $3,300 going to be eaten in the cost of a roof? Not unless it's a big old doggone roof. So first off, times were probably different when that happened. Aside from that, it's actually insurance fraud to do it. And when it was $500, you're not really going to get busted over that. But if you make a $3,300 deductible go away, that's why last year, and it was actually in Oklahoma City, and it was the most advanced so far of this kind, there are some roofers that have been in business for a very long time and did the same thing that a million other roofers have done, something just like that. Both owners went to prison for 25 years. Now, how many have gotten away with that? Quite a few. But you're going to see it happen less and less and less due to the fact of, like, when deductibles are that high, you can't eat it and get away with it. So we'll get into how to actually truly find a way to help the homeowner in that scenario, because we want to help the homeowner, but we need to do it from a legal standpoint. So, and we'll get into that. Okay. So if you're low on authorizations, what damage are you finding? No, like maybe you're just doing a bad job of presenting it, or even finding anything, or like, yeah, I did 3 inspections and they were all fine. Because, like, if you do an inspection and it doesn't need a roof, and you keep going at like, okay, so I checked out the entire neighborhood, inspected all these roofs, and none of them needed it. Why are you there then? Right? So this is a reason that isn't necessarily on you. Like, what kind of damage are you finding? If you're not finding damage, now, I want to get into this. If you're in a neighborhood and you find 3 roofs that are clean, you can go ahead and leave. Go to a different spot. If you get on one roof and go, this roof's fine, this neighborhood's good. No. Like, I've literally been on one roof and like, oh my gosh, it looks like the Hulk smashed on it. And then you go next door and you're like, why is this one perfect? So one roof, you need to keep looking. If you get on 3 roofs in a neighborhood and 3 of them are fine, go somewhere else. Okay. So the what damage are you finding is like, are you actually finding damage? Okay. Are you staying in one spot? So what some guys will do is they'll just constantly bounce around thinking the grass is greener, right? Like, I'm going to go to this neighborhood, or I'm going to go to this neighborhood. Remember when I said yesterday, 7 active neighborhoods? I'll watch a guy go through, get 1 inspection of that neighborhood, and never go back to it again. No. Did I tell you guys the guy who I knocked on the most? Did I tell you that story? So there was a guy who I knocked on his door 5 times. And it was finally time number 6. And it was actually, I'd done his entire dadgum cul-de-sac, and I was up on his neighbor's roof, and he comes rolling up as I'm sitting on my ladder. Marcus, what's up, Jeff? Like, we're on a name basis. I knocked on his door and he told me no so many times. We literally knew each other. And I was like, hey, Jeff, what's going on? And I even knew what he did. I said, whose house you heading to? He was like a handyman contractor kind of guy, right? He's like, when you're done with David's roof, get on mine. I'm like, you got it, buddy. I'll set an appointment. And I set an appointment to do it the next day because I was too busy to do it right then. Like, that's going to happen. Okay. So if you got an area, as soon as it gets opened, freaking work it. Don't go, out of 200 homes, only got one inspection. Then go back and get the other 199. Stop bouncing around. The grass ain't always greener. Like, everybody's yard's got weeds. You got to keep fertilizing it or get a really big dog. So if you're low on leads or low on door knocks, we kind of talked about that. You need to figure out which one's off. How do you pitch what you're seeing? In other words, are you doing a good job of telling a story about your inspection? Okay. But here's the biggest stuff. You're not making proper suggestions, proper diagnosis. Okay. You're going, we got some damage. I think the insurance will buy it. Or, maybe you need a new roof. Like, you're not saying this is your problem, this is your fix. This is your problem, this is your fix. Okay. So once again, if, just so you know what's what, went too far. If you get 5 inspections, you should have 3 authorizations, generally speaking. Okay. So if that percentage is not what you're seeing, then this is considered weak from one to the other. So next, low on scopes. Now, this is generally speaking the biggest drop off and decline of where guys get ghosted. Okay. So I'm assuming everybody knows what I mean by ghosted. Like, the kids used to say it, but they used to say it like a decade ago. So hopefully everybody gets it. Like, I even know what it means, right? Like, I actually just found out last week or 2 weeks ago that Netflix and chill is not what I thought it meant. So yeah, I legitimately didn't know. So, and I'd used it in a lot of really inappropriate scenarios, apparently, because it's not what I thought it was. So anyways, hopefully everybody knows what ghosted means. But the reason you're going to get ghosted in this scenario is because, just like I told you, they are going to get a big, scary number. And if you haven't done all the other things properly, you're going to get dropped off a cliff when it comes to this point. Okay. So it's really quick and easy on what your problems are. You are not letting them know what happens next. Okay. You're not telling them you're going to get an estimate. It's going to be scary. Don't worry. I got 3 options to give you. Simple as that. Okay. Next, you're not following up. If you're only following up every 2 weeks, yeah, you're going to have a lot of people. They're going to get that scope. And what are they going to do? They're going to have a sit down at the table with their friends, and they're going to find out their friend's interaction went a lot better than yours. So they're going to use their friend's guy. Because again, you need to understand the scopes, this is going to be the biggest drop off. This is where most guys are going to lose people because it's that big, scary piece of information. And if you're simply leading them, telling them what happens next, and doing your follow-ups, that's not going to happen. So those are your only reasons you're getting ghosted on the scopes, period. It's a very quick, easy fix. So, low on contracts. Now, this is what I'm going to get a little bit deep into. You guys have heard me say repeatedly now already that if you're doing your job correctly, you're only selling on that first interaction, on the pitch. If you catch yourself still selling on contract day, you haven't done your job right. So now you're already backpedaling. Okay? But the number one reason, and as you can see from guys who have done this before in the room, you're not giving 3 options. Now, I don't mean 3 options in the sense of 3 different types of discounts. That's not what I'm saying. So let's say this is just a simple scope. Insurance has paid for the roof to be replaced and nothing else. They're not giving you any other money, any of those things. Okay? So the 3 options I would present would be replacing the roof just as insurance covers it. Option 2, replacing the roof. And remember how we talked about you could really use some extra ventilation. Here's a charge for a ridge vent. Or option 3, here's a class 4 shingle upgrade along with some ridge vent. Now, I don't care what option they pick. I'm making money in all of them. But when I give you 3 options, you feel like you have choice. And it makes it easier to take. When you give someone only one option, naturally, they're just going to feel that a better deal exists. Versus you're presenting them the better deals. And some of the best things you can do, and I've done this countless times, that third option, so let's say that third option is a class 4 shingle, right? Let's say they're in an insurance company, or they're with an insurance company, or they're in an area where a class 4 shingle actually doesn't benefit them. Guess what you do? Hey, I wouldn't buy this. You're like, you just told them not to spend the most amount of money? Absolutely, I did. That's 100% what I did. But guess what? I just guaranteed that they're going to buy one of the other 2. Does that make sense? So you need to present 3 options. I've seen like I said, it happened for me personally. I started closing deals way more often, started making more money, and I've seen it happen for countless guys that follow the same process. So you need to give 3 options. And that is something I'm also going to be going over with you on those days. You'll actually see what our options page looks like. I'm not going to get into it today because there's just no point, because you're a long way off from needing that. Okay. Next, you're trying to rush the close. So something I used to try a lot was those insurance companies that write an estimate right then and there. I'd try to close it right then and there. So if I'm trying to close it right then and there, do you feel that I'm actually looking out for your best interest? Because I'm not. You don't feel that way because I'm not. But if I actually take some time to put together some options for you, and that's the other part, I'll have guys go, well, Marcus, I don't know how to put options together. Well, what do you mean? Well, I don't actually know what other way they would go about it. So wait a minute. You've been with your homeowner for 5 weeks and you don't actually know what's best for them, or you don't know them well enough to know what options they may pick. Oh, that's when that's a little bit of shame on you. Okay. So next, like I've talked about, they don't believe you. So if they believe that they need a roof, they believe that the 3 options you have presented before them are good options, why would they not sign? There's literally no reason. So they don't believe you, like in my humble opinion. Okay? You didn't address the hard objections. Kind of to Blake's point, like he talked about earlier on, and that very first selling day, you could tell they had a question on their face and you didn't want to address it. Right? So now you kept kicking that ball down the road. You kept kicking that ball down the road. Now you've put in all this time, all this effort. Now you think you're going to address it? Should have addressed it way sooner. So guys will tell me, they'll be like, you mean so I need to bring up the deductible early? No. I'm not saying you need to go out of your way and bring it up. But if they bring it up, you need to not avoid it. Because I've had guys that be like, oh, no, we'll worry about that $7,000 deductible later. Really? Like, it's $7,000, bro. Like, if they ain't got it, I want to know before I put 5 weeks of my time into this thing. So you're not making it easy for them. Like I told you, this whole follow-up process, this whole leading them, it just needs to be simple. If you've done everything right when it comes to contracting day, like how much of a relationship have you had with these guys? Like, you're really there. You're in it. They trust you. Like, this is just another way. Like, all they want to know is, where am I signing? It should be completely effortless and easy. So have you been asking them to put in work where you're like, hey, have you heard? Cool. Well, can you call your insurance company for me and see what's going on here? I'd like to get my commission check. So you didn't follow up, and worst, you never made a suggestion of what needs to be done. So you didn't make a proper, so you said, hey, this is what's wrong, but you didn't tell them how we actually need to go about fixing it. Because again, if you've done all these things, then it's just, the contract's literally the easiest part. Okay? So you need to do the math. And this first part is something I want to talk to you guys about, and I want it to really ring home. The math is no respecter of persons. The math is the math. So I got a guy who has been with us for a while, and he just absolutely refuses to look at his pipeline or to go through his goals on a daily basis. Why do you think that is?
Because they have to be accountable for them.
Or he's scared of the results, right? Like, you can't be scared of it. So maybe you do it weekly. I personally think that's a stretch. You need to go through it daily. And yes, the math doesn't care about your feelings. Your results are your results, point blank, period, end of story. So you need to make changes accordingly, okay? And if you keep avoiding it, it's like we talked about yesterday, can you think, if any, so far, no one's ever given me a sport that doesn't have a scoreboard, unless it's a little kiddie league and their parents are weak, right? So you need a scoreboard, and you need to look at it accordingly. Because me personally, the way I call the game, if I'm a touchdown behind and I got 4 quarters to play versus I'm a touchdown behind and I got 2 minutes left in the game, I'm probably going to make different calls. That was a sports reference for you wrestlers in the room. I don't know if that was football specifically. Okay, I played in the NFL for a couple of years, obviously. So part's a lie, if you believe it. What is Brian trying to enter for? All right, so get strong, do the math, make your fix. And again, understand you are looking at the results to make correctives on your actions. You can't correct the results themselves. You have to correct your actions. Okay? So, if you avoid today's pain, you're going to hit it tomorrow. At some point, you got to buck up and deal with it. All right? So, does anybody have any questions on that before we move on? If you have questions on it, please say it. What's up?
So with every sale, do you guys please do after action reports? So you go and you critique everything that you did throughout that mission or whatever. So do you guys do that same thing? Take that same example towards each sale? You go back and look through, what did I do well? What can I improve? Or do you ask the customer, even when they do a review, or is there anything that I did, or is there anything that we did exceptional compared to anybody else that you know? Or that way they can tell you exactly what you did differently, so you can continue to do that in the future, or something like that.
So let me make sure I'm understanding your question right. Are you talking about like what you should do, or are you asking what we do as a company for your customers?
Well,
Both? Okay. So yeah, we're going to ask those things in our review process, but that's not going to happen until a build is at, like, you know, we're not going to do that until it comes to what's already the success principle. Now, when you and I, or when you and your managers, if I'm not your direct manager, Josh, you know, whoever it is, depending on what your area is, right? I don't do much of it anymore, to be honest, but we are going to dive deep into those things with you. And that's why, you know, so I'm going to be like, that's why I'm going to go through and be like, all right, so you've got 10 inspections, but you only got 2 authorizations. And then I'm going to start asking you some questions, and we're going to figure out where the weak point is. We're going to figure out what's happening, right? So that's why doing the math, going through your pipeline is so important, because that is how you figure that out. Now, me personally, yes, as a salesperson myself, I can't help it. I naturally critique the dog fire out of myself. But the biggest change for me, honestly, started when I started judging the good things I did. So I'm, like I said, 95% of your thoughts are going to be negative thoughts. That's just the way humans operate. 95% of what you do is negative. And unfortunately, most people are driven by negativity more so than they are positivity, even though positivity is a more powerful force. So grace and God's love is the most amazing thing we've been given. However, most people still operate off of fear. So if you choose to figure out the good things you did and enact those, like, so all the specific text message and things that I've gotten, that was from, okay, when I texted this, I got better. Like, that was just from when, okay, this gets me the best response every time. So I'm not necessarily worried about the things that didn't work. I'm going to find what did work, and I'm going to continually repeat it. Right? Does that make sense?
I like that tactic.
Okay.
Because like, I'm a huge believer in like, frequencies. We all have frequencies. If you go up to a door and you're already second guessing yourself, you're already putting that vibe to that customer. They're already second guessing you because you're second guessing yourself. You give off that energy, that frequency. Strongest frequency is authenticity. Proven.
Fact. What else? That was good. Anybody else got anything? Nope. Angel, you got anything? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So this is going to be a lot of, food's probably going to get here soon. This is going to be a lot of the same kind of lines as tracking and pipeline, and that's going to be scheduling. So we'll see how this room goes. You guys did really good yesterday. How many of you have a schedule like that you legitimately work? Okay. Keep your hands up if that schedule also contains personal life. Man, you guys are solid. I like it. So if you have a schedule for work, that's great, but you also need to have a schedule for outside of work. We're going to get into that in a little bit. But so I want, pretend that this person here, let me close that off because I don't want to keep looking at that. He's trying to join the daily huddle call and he's on the wrong line. Okay. So let's just pretend this person here is a very successful, the one standing up leading. This is of a, it's pretty high looking office, like probably a pretty important person up there, right? Maybe a CEO, makes lots of money, does lots of things, right? So do you think that this person has a schedule?
Yes.
Do you think more than likely, not only do they have a schedule, they probably actually pay somebody good money just to do their schedule? So do you have a schedule that is so good that you could consider that someone's job? That's the level you need to get to if you want to be successful. And a big reason that people don't have their schedule to that level, or that they don't have one at all, is because of this right here. How many of you guys have ever heard the term be, do, have? You have? Okay.
In the training that you sent us.
You've already got it. Fantastic. So be, do, have is what we should operate in. This is what most people do operate in. Once I have the thing, then I will do the thing, which will then make me be the thing. So once I become the super successful CEO, I'll then be able to pay somebody will then be that important. You're never going to get to this level until you actually realize you are that person right now. You are that person right now. You are going to do the things that that person does, and then you will have the success. Easy analogy for that, or a parable if you're reading a Bible. Let's say you're someone that works out. Do you wait until you're big, swole up, and jacked up and look like The Rock? Or do you have to become some sizes and diets and all those things? Like, you don't get to be big, huge, fit, and roided out without doing the big, huge, fit, roided out things first, right? But how many of us try to operate our lives and our work that way? Most people are like, hey, once I'm successful, well, you're not going to get successful if you don't operate the way a successful person operates. Does it make sense? So I know I use a lot of the workout analogy stuff just like because it's kind of easy to understand for everybody, right? Not that you guys have a hard time understanding things, but hopefully the B2 will stand out to you, because when the first time, I always used to go, when I'm successful, and a lot of people, think that, that are called to ministry or anything of that nature will think, hey, once I get to this level, then I can start doing those things. You got to do those things to get to that level, man. So, and it acts that way in everything. So, all right. Now, what is a good schedule? What needs to be important on a schedule? So we've already decided that a schedule is definitely something that you should have. And you should have it to the level of someone that pays someone just to do their schedule. Okay. If you're like, man, if you write your own schedule, you're like, man, I could pay somebody. This is so detailed. This could be a job. You're doing right. But what's it need to look like? The most important part of your schedule, point blank, period, end of story, needs to be what we're going to call the RGA. It's actually from a mentor that Josh and I have. So straight up stole his stuff, right? This is thievery. So, but he knows it, so it's fine. Revenue generating activity. Revenue generating activity. Now, how do I define activity? Okay. It's good, but that would be an activity. But what is the definition of activity?
Actions that make money.
Yep.
Motion, actually
Yep.
doing something. I don't know how you define
Yep.
it.
It just goes back to 100% within your control. Okay. So many of us, like I said, you're going to hear me say this until I'm blue in the face, because so many guys, especially in the sales world, do it wrong. It is not results, it's actions. Okay. So you need to do actions that drive your results. If the actions you're taking don't get you the results, then you need to change your actions. Okay. But if you track actions, you actually know how to get what you need. So revenue generating activity needs to be 40% of your time bare minimum. Meaning, for those new in the industry, it pretty much needs to be 100% of your time. I say 40% because let's say you're one of the top 10, you're hammer jammering, like you're going to have a lot of maintenance that you have to do on a daily basis. But you have to absolutely make sure, no matter what, at least 40% of your time is generating new activity. Otherwise, it's going to come to a stop. Okay. So what are some revenue generating activities? To Mark's point, door knocking is for sure a revenue generating activity because you're meeting people for the first time. You're creating business that did not exist yet. Inspections, or that's an inspection from a referral, a lead from the office, a door knock, an inspection you set on your own, whatever, an inspection. Leads, same thing. Education of yesterday's issues, or just education in general. How many of you truly believe that education makes you money? How many of you are readers? So I've found out the more I read, the more I make. Period. Leaders or readers? Getting agents and getting realtors. Those are not something, in my opinion, you guys need to worry about now. You need to knock, and more knock, because it's the fastest way to generate business. If you were to go out and get agents of both insurance companies and realtors today, you're probably not going to see results or fruit from that for a couple months, generally speaking. Versus a door knock, you can see fruits of that labor today. Okay. So though those are generating activities, it's not what I would recommend you attack in the meantime. Okay. So not an RGA, a contract. You're like, really? A contract? But that's when they're actually signing with me and like I'm collecting it. Yeah. But we've already discussed that's about a 3 to 5 week process. So that's not new activity. That's old activity. Like you've been dealing with that. Follow-up is not generating new business. And some guys are like, yeah, but you said follow-up is key to making good money. It is, but it's not new. That's just what you should be doing to maintain what you already did. The build. Now, door knocking on the build? Yes. But the build itself? No. Job submittal. Cashing checks. You're like, really? Cashing a check isn't new business? No. They're paying you for your old work. None of these are new. So I'm going to tell you some things about that I see guys do with this that really, really get me fired up. You want to get me fired up and not in a good mood? Well, I'm about to tell you is how to do it. I don't want to hear that my follow-up or my job, basically any of these things, like how many of you have ever heard, and this is a good reason not to do 40% of new generating activities. Man, I got so much. I've got to get caught up today. I don't have time for that. How many of you have said that before? Bull crap. And I've said it before. So let me tell you what that really means. You either have put something off for too many days in a row, done it, or you keep putting off one specific, like a phone call that's actually only going to take you 30 seconds to make, but you spend an hour because you're doing your best to just figure out a way to make that phone call easier. Like, you know, this is going to suck. I don't want to do this. Shut up and do it. But instead you're like, okay, maybe if hold on, I just got to rework this. I bet if, let me make some phone calls. Let me spend, and then you're like, oh crap, there's no other ways. There's no other ways. You know what? I'm going to call, hey, Marcus, this is my problem. How can I not do this? Oh, I have to do that? Shut up and do it. Like, just shut up and do it. Nothing irritates me more than just not attacking a problem, because you're just going to continue to not attack that problem. Like, just shut up and do it. So when you tell me, oh, my follow-ups are going to take me all day. Really? You got 3. You got 3. Give me a break. So, sorry. It's my little soapbox, and I get on that one. I felt like one of you did it to me in the room just now. I don't even know why. You're not even to that point. So, whew, all right, come. Woosah. All right. So, and the other part of that, you don't get to skip your maintenance items because you're door knocking. You don't get to tell me, yeah, but you said I need to do revenue generating activities, Marcus, and I had to do that door knocking yesterday. Cool. So guess what? You should have just worked later. So there's 2 key things I want to tell you about a schedule. If you schedule too much for yourself and you made a long day, suck it up. Take the long day. If you're like, man, I gave myself too much, then you get to have a late night. I don't know what to tell you. Because if you put it off till tomorrow, You're just kicking that ball down the road. And you're also telling yourself that it's okay. On the flip side of that, let's say that you just crushed the day and you get to be done early, then enjoy it. Take that time. But there needs to be a balance. If every day you've scheduled yourself too much, then adapt your schedule. If every day your day is done at 1 o'clock, probably need to put a little bit more on you, right? So take the punishment when you've given yourself punishment and take the reward. I always had no problem with the punishment part, but I had a big problem with the reward part. So what's an ideal schedule look like? Well, as we already said, RGAs need to be your number one important thing. But this was something, this part here was tragically difficult for me in the beginning of this industry. So I'm about to tell you guys something that's probably going to shock you. I'm a very regimented person. I have a very specific way I like to do things, and that is the way I do things. Like my keys go in a certain spot. Like I grew up, my mom was the most unregimented, and like I literally, way before the movie, found my mom's keys in the refrigerator one day. Like, so I was like, I'm not growing up to, like, that's not going to be me, right? So, but so I came from an industry that I just done forever, knew forever. Like I went into work at this time, I did these things, then I did it. Like I could do it. Like I was in an industry that I could control my schedule 100% fully. Then I come into this. So much of this is not in your control. Like what I have planned for Monday, let's say I make a sale Monday. Well, now I'm probably going to have an appointment come up because of what I did Monday on Friday. So now it changes Friday. So like it's going to constantly be moving. Or guess what? What we do is outside. What happens outside? Weather. So I had to figure out how to adapt and move and flow. So a big thing, and this came again from the same mentor of me and Josh, time blocking. And I'm going to give you guys some examples of schedules, but time blocking is going to be huge. So meaning, if you write down, I'm going to do this thing at this time, you're going to have some issues. And guess what will happen? You'll have to stop it, and you're not going to get back to it. Versus, I need to do at least 2 hours of this. Meaning it can move around, but I'm going to do 2 hours of this thing. Does that make sense? You guys follow me? So time blocking is going to be huge because you're going to have to move around. And I at least found like types of schedules that I could adapt to depending on when my adjuster appointments came and things like that. And time blocking was a big part of that. Okay. Because if you want to do the same thing every day, like that's not how it's going to work. Like some of your mornings are going to start out with paperwork. Other mornings are going to start out with adjuster appointments. Like another morning's going to start out with inspections. Like we don't know how it's going. You know what I mean? Oh, sorry. Key things you need to see on your schedule. RGAs, which we talked about already, right? So you need to see RGAs, maintenance and follow-up. You need to have a wake-up time. Like I don't care what time it is. If you wake up at 3 in the morning, you wake up at 3 in the afternoon, like the time you say you're going to get up is the time I'm not the influencer guy. Everybody wakes up at 4:30. No, like get up when you want to get up. I happen to be an early guy, but get up when you're going to get up. But get up when you say you're going to get up. Period. Next, family time. Now, this is one for me. I thought if I scheduled family time, it was actually going to be disingenuous, but it was actually just the opposite. I was telling my family, aka my wife, what is most important to me. I was telling everybody that I worked with what was most important. I told my customers what was most important to me. I thought the very first time when I showed you guys a text message I sent for sitting down for a contract, and this was in the early days, like when I had to have money, right? You always have to have money, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. And I said, hey, this time they came back with this. And I was like, that's during date night. I was like, I may lose this deal. My wife's more important. Sorry, that's date night. I can do this day. They're like, oh, no. And all of a sudden they magically became available for one of my times. I've never told a homeowner, no, I can't. And I tell them the reason, to your point, genuine. I've never done anything but got respect because of it. So schedule your family time, and it needs to be on there. And do not budget. If you have scheduled, you're going to do this for your wife, for your kids, for whatever, you do it. You do not say, oh man, I ended up getting it. No. You do not change it. If I catch you changing it, I'll slap you. And I'm big and scary. Okay. So So Angel, again, remember 6'3", 260. Like the camera takes away 100 pounds. So, I'm going to give you guys some examples of my schedule. And this is not any one particular day. This is just going to be what my schedule looked like in these time frames of this job. Okay. So this is the schedule for a brand new individual, i.e. this is what it should look like for you guys or some variation of. Okay. So wake up time, 6 a.m. Like I said, yes, I'm going to have a specific time. 6:15, you're probably sitting here going, what's that 15-minute gap? Look, I'm going to get up, but I'm going to sit for a dadgum second. I'm not just going to sprint. Like, I'm not that guy. Like, I can be like, all right, you got to do, we got to do this. When you stand, all sorts of noises are going to be made. Just deal with it. And the new one gets added every day. All of a sudden, yet today, for some reason, I'm like, why does my calf hurt? I didn't even do legs yesterday. Yes, I do legs. Okay. They're just tiny. All right. I don't know what to tell you. So 6:15 to 7:15, I'm doing it. I'm up now. I'm getting my coffee. I'm getting in the Word. Okay. And, that may vary a little bit. Sometimes if I'm really hammered out, I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Next thing you know, I've been going over for 15 minutes, whatever. Next, 7:30 to 8:30. Do I work out for an hour? Absolutely not. But guess what? I got to spend quite a bit of time stretching. You'll get there. Don't worry. Yep, it happens. Okay. After that, 8:30 to 9:30, or excuse me, 8:30 to 9, I'm getting ready. 9 to 11. And I've yet to meet anybody in the beginning stages that literally scheduled that much time of educating every single day. Now, the reason you always see anytime I have education, you're going to see education or yesterday's problem. So if you're just seeking out general education, like, in all honesty, some of it's going to go out the window. But if you are specifically trying to figure out something that went wrong, you're going to pull it a lot harder. Like, it's going to mean a lot more. So if you have something specific, that's what I encourage you to look up. Just my opinion. Next, 11 to 1, I'm knocking doors. Because if you remember, that's the first power hour, right? From 1 to 1:30, I'm going to eat, hydrate, whatever the case may be. Hopefully you're hydrating throughout the whole day. And you should definitely drink more water and less coffee than I do. But, hey, do as I say. Not as I do, right? So 1:30 to 2, I'm going to drive to neighborhood number 2. Now, here's something I want you to take away from this, not take away from this. A lot of guys think, oh, well, so you told me you bounce around a neighborhood. So what's going to happen? You're going to get out there, whether it's first day, first week, first month, whatever. You're going to have a bad time at knocking doors. You're like, you know what? I'm just going to get my truck and go across the street. No. Shut up, sit down, put the work in. Stop. Next thing you know, you're going to waste 2 hours driving around trying to find a good spot. And guess what? They're all the same. Like, just sit down and work where you said you were going to work. Now, if I said I'm driving to neighborhood number 2, then that was scheduled. In other words, this was my afternoon neighborhood, my retirement community. And then the next neighborhood I'm going to go to is not my retirement neighborhood. So it's on purpose. It's okay to schedule 2 different neighborhoods. It's not okay to just bounce around because you don't feel like it. Okay. And then from 2 to 2:30, I'm going to read something, going to listen to something. Honestly, that may be listen to something motivational. It may be listening to something educational, or it may be, you know what? I just need to crank up some Katy Perry. Yeah, I jam out. KP, Lady Gaga. I don't know that my music advances much past that era. I kind of stopped there because, again, I got old, right? So next, from 2:30 to 7, I'm going to knock doors. But wait, You said from 4:30 to 8. Yep. There's a good chance from 2:30 to 4:30 may suck really bad. That's possible, but that's what I'm doing. Okay. From 7 to 9, going to spend time with my wife, eat dinner, watch a movie. We like watching Frasier, whatever. From 9 to 10 is going to be quiet time. And you're like, what? Quiet time? So this actually, I'm the girl in a relationship. That actually came from my wife. She's like, no, I got to end every day just kind of chilling with me a little bit. I'm like, but I want to cuddle. Like, well, now it's actually the complete opposite. I'm like, nope, you got this in me. I got to have an hour of quiet time every day. Like, that's how I chill. So again, it's scheduled 10 to 10:15. I'm recapping, making changes. I don't go to sleep with social media and all that stuff. I literally go to sleep with like running through tomorrow. Like, I go to sleep thinking about tomorrow. Like, that's just because if I don't, I'm not sitting here being like, I'm so cool and dedicated. You should be as awesome as me. No, like if I don't, I'll get up and I won't. So if I don't force it into my brain, this is what's happening, I won't do it. So again, know yourself, adapt accordingly. Okay. So here's what here comes the next type of scheduling. And this is going to be, so you're in it, you're averaging maybe 1 or 2 authorizations a week, like you're doing fairly well. Now, what's something you guys notice between the two schedules right offhand?
Waking up earlier.
Waking up earlier is exactly right. And you'd be like, but I don't want to wake up earlier. Shut up, sleep faster. Like, you got work to do. Because I now have, on top of waking up earlier, I got more work to do. And I'm not going to go, oh, I just can't make as much. Nope. I'm generating it. I'm going to do it. So if you notice, pretty much it's all going to be the same up until it's time to go to work. I'm now starting work an hour earlier, right? Everything else beforehand was the same deal. Now from 8 to 8:30, I'm doing educate or yesterday's problem. Notice that's not 2 hours anymore. Okay. Well, I'm moving and grooving. You should never stop educating, but there is going to be a point where, your capacity to learn, like, not to say know it all, but like kind of know it all already. You know what I mean? But again, you never stop. I still spend 30 minutes of education every day. And what I mean with that is specifically to the industry. When you hear me talking about reading and stuff like that, like that's educating myself for my own betterment. When I refer to it here, I'm talking about the job, the industry specifically. Is that what you're going to ask? Awesome. So next, 8:30 to 9, I'm doing follow-ups. 9 to 10, I got an adjuster appointment. 10 to 11, I got an office lead. 11 to 1, knocking. 1:30, I'm eating, reading, listening. So if you're noticing a couple of things as it gets into here, like I got these things stacked up. I have some guys be like, yeah, but what if those two things are 30 minutes in between? Be on purpose, dude. I don't know what to tell you. If you're scheduling where one day you're here, then you're here, then you're here. No, like if this is the area of town I'm in, this is the area of town I'm in. Period. If you're doing scheduling, if you're driving 100 miles a day, but it's all in town, your schedule sucks. You are wasting massive amounts of time. So if you stay in one area, it allows you to stack it up. In other words, I can do more. Because I would have guys be like, I've had guys constantly ask me this. Hey, how many inspections when you were just selling and you were moving, how many inspections could you get done in a day? Like, I don't know, 8 to 10. And they'd struggle with 3. Like, you all know why? Because I didn't do all this crap. And I didn't go, oh, hey, one inspection, go sit down, eat a little something. Like, no. Like, get it in. Get it in. All right? And then now you're noticing also from 1 to 1:30, I'm driving, reading, and eating all at the same time. Guys make fun of me like I just eat my raw cold chicken. Like, is that good? Nope. But it's not what I'm doing it for. Like, it's substance. Thankfully, I'm not a foodie, so I don't care. I literally don't care about taste in my mouth. Doesn't matter to me. If I never got the COVID thing, we're like, Man, wouldn't it suck if you lost your taste? Not really. I don't taste anything anyway, so who cares? So now from 1:30 to 2:30, I'm finishing my follow-ups. So if you notice there, it's time blocking, right? It's not, oh, I couldn't get all my follow-ups in. Nope. Just going to get them in at a different part of the day. Okay. Then from 2:30 to 7, I'm knocking, and then everything else stays the same, right? Now, this next one, I got to be a little bit honest with you guys. It says, okay, you demand, now you're making 10K a month. I want to be honest with you. The way we pay now, this schedule here makes you 10K a month. But when I was doing it, this is what it took. So between things just costing more and then also our pay structure being good, you guys get to make it sooner than I got to. Cool? So what's the next thing we notice from one schedule to the next?
Getting fuller.
Now, I didn't wake up earlier here. 5's my earliest. I ain't doing earlier than that. If you want me to do earlier than that, I will, call me whatever. I am going to at least get that much. So once again, that all looks the same up until 8 o'clock, right? Because 8 o'clock is when work starts, and I'm now educating. Again, still a little bit on yesterday's problem or yesterday's pipeline, whatever the case may be. Now, this is where it gets real crazy. From 8:30 to 9:30, I got an adjuster appointment, but then what's this? I got another adjuster appointment from 9, like those adjuster appointments are overlapping. Yep. Can that go bad? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that can go real bad. So what do? Hope it works. At this point, remember how I told you I make friends with the adjusters? I've had these times. I'll call that first adjuster and I'll be like, hey, Blake, look, man, I got another one. I'm going to be here a little bit early. So if you want to get early, cool, I got you. And he's going to be like, hey, man, you came early for me a couple weeks ago. I got your back. Like, you're going to see these adjusters over and over and over again. When I get a call from the guys in my local area, they're like, hey, do you remember such and such? I'm like, yeah, of course I do. Like, you're going to get to know these guys. So you'll have a relationship. You'll be able to stack them up and move them around because you're also going to help them from time to time. So that's how I do that. And I'm not going to, you think I'm going to not fit it in? No, I got money to make. Like, let's squeeze this thing in. Let's do it, right? So then I got an office lead. Then I got a door knock around that office lead. You're like, you're only knocking for 30 minutes. How are you going to get an inspection in? Easy. I'm not. I'm just going to set up an appointment for another day. But if you think I'm not going to take 30 minutes to knock, you're crazy. I got an open 30 minutes on my schedule. I'm feeling it. Then I'm going to knock on some doors around that other inspection that got set. Then I'm going to eat something, much less time than I had before. Then I'm going to do my follow-ups because I hadn't even done any follow-ups yet. So now I got to do them because my morning started so early. Then I got a referral inspection. Then I got another referral inspection because, like I said, you start getting a lot of them at that point. Then I'm going to knock doors really for an hour, and you're basically going to stop right when people get home. What choice I got? Because after that, I got 2 contract appointments. And you're like, well, what if that first contract appointment goes late?